is The Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome. It is The Vegas Take. Happy hump day everybody. It is Wednesday, isn't it? Welcome to the show. Glad you could join us. A lot to get to, a lot to go over. As always, JD Sharp in studio. I am Brian Shapiro, also broadcasting live on our YouTube page, The Vegas Take, so be sure to check that out. Boy, do we have a lot to go over, especially what took place yesterday, Iran's response. Donald Trump just made some statements in front of the press. We're going to go over that here in just a few minutes. Coming up in hour number 2 as well, I think it is important to note, even though it is extremely difficult to read our producer's handwriting as I try to attempt to read it as we speak, but there was a settlement in regards to this kid Sandman. Do you remember those kids that were out there, and then you had this guy of Indian descent that was banging the drum? We all remember that story, right? Well, there was a settlement. CNN did pay the family. So we're going to talk a little bit about that coming up in the 10 a.m. hour and why I believe that kid didn't deserve 1 cent. We'll get to that. And also in hour number 2, he is known as Donald Trump's little trickster. He is a right-wing conspiracy theorist. I would also say a very controversial figure. He's going to be joining us in hour number 2, Jacob Wohl. This is a kid with I guess you could say, I'm saying it in nice terms, a very, very, very troubled past in regards to some of the things he said and some of the things he's done. So it should be interesting. He'll be joining us in hour number 2. George Lopez, a lot of people talking about his ridiculous comments in regards to some people in Iran about the assassination of Donald Trump. Well, guess what? George Lopez got a visit from the Secret Service, rightfully so, I believe. So we'll talk a little bit about that in hour number 3. Larry David making the rounds, by the way. I love this guy from Curb Your Enthusiasm. He's doing some interviews. They're very, very funny, and it involves the NFL and the NHL. We'll explain what that means coming up here in just a little bit. And also a UNLV preview. They are on the road today. Big game, conference game on the road against a pretty good Boise State basketball team. UNLV's won, I think, 4 in a row? They're 3-0 in the Mountain West. So we'll talk a little bit about that coming up in hour number 3. But obviously, first, we're going to talk about the Iran strike, the response yesterday, and the best news that I can report, and I'm really happy to report on this, is that yesterday in Iran's response, no Americans died, no troops have died, and that is, to me, that's the most important thing out of all this, so far anyway, and that is really, really good news. Really good news. Now, Iran's supreme leader says these missile strikes at bases are just a slap in the face, and they warn it's not enough, so I would imagine there'd probably be a bigger response. But Donald Trump spoke this morning, and I want to play some of his comments, and then I'm going to talk about why I'm disappointed. But let's start with Donald Trump talking about this strike on our airbase. Here it is.
Iran appears to be standing down, which is a good thing for all parties concerned and a very good thing for the world. No American or Iraqi lives were lost because of the precautions taken, the dispersal of forces, and an early warning system that worked very well.
Okay, so obviously that's a good thing, and I agree with the president said. If, in fact, Iran is stepping down, we don't know that for sure, but if, in fact, Iran is stepping down and taking a few steps back, then I agree. That's a good thing for all parties. But here's where it gets interesting. I thought during this press conference that we would get specifics and that we would get information as to why there was an imminent threat and why Soleimani, or as I like to call him, General Salami, why this had to be done. Here's Donald Trump's response to that.
In recent days, he was planning new attacks on American targets, but we stopped him. Soleimani's hands were drenched in both American and Iranian blood. He should have been terminated long ago. By removing Soleimani, we have sent a powerful message to terrorists. If you value your own life, you will not threaten the lives of our people.
Well, first of all, let me just say, many of these terrorists, particularly the terrorists that attacked us on 9/11, did not value their own lives. So many people in other countries that want to hurt Americans do not value their own lives, and they're willing to risk and kill themselves at the hands of killing other innocent Americans. So I would say that to Mr. Trump, number one. Number two, all he said as far as the imminent threat was that He was planning new attacks on American targets. What targets? When? What was he planning on attacking anybody in this country? There is a new person that is taken command where General Soleimani was and is. There is a new person in charge.
With
so
less money, less charisma, less experience.
What do you mean less money? Any of these attacks are helped to be carried through by the government, not out of pocket.
I'm saying Soleimani was an extremely wealthy, very, very powerful man in Iran. The person that's taking his place is not the same person.
Well,
he's not going to have the same advantages and experience that Soleimani had.
We will discuss that. I want to play one more cut, though. This is Donald Trump, and this is, to me, what is most shocking about this press conference, because you have a lot of people on the right that are talking about, well, let's bomb these guys. Let's get rid of them all. Let's get rid of this country. You know, some people on the right are saying some pretty extreme things, and I'm very surprised. You know, a lot of right-wingers, a lot of warmongers out there were saying one thing, and Donald Trump said something else. So this is what Donald Trump plans to do in response. Have a listen to this.
As we continue to evaluate options in response to Iranian aggression, the United States will immediately impose additional punishing economic sanctions on the Iranian regime. These powerful sanctions will remain until Iran changes its behavior.
There's a lot of people that are very surprised. He's talking about sanctions.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people on the right, yesterday at least, were talking about what will the response be? Are we going to nuke these guys? Are we going to bomb these guys? Are we going to get rid of all these people? And he's talking about sanctions. Now, so here are my thoughts on everything that we just heard. Here's my opinion on what we heard from the president this morning. Mr. President, it's not enough. There are horrible people around the world. It's not even up for debate. This guy, Soleimani, was a terrorist responsible for hundreds, maybe even thousands of innocent lives, many of which Americans. That's not up for debate. He was a horrible guy. He was a terrorist. He harbored terrorists. There's no question that we should all rejoice in the fact that this guy's dead. But with that being said, we need to know, did it go through the proper channels? Was the intelligence correct? We're not learning any of the information other than, well, he was planning new attacks on American targets. I believe we need more information than that. That's what I'm really disappointed at here. And I go back to the Iraq War, and I say it time and time again. You know, we started an ill-advised war with Iraq. Thousands of American troops died. Tens of thousands of innocent Iraqis died. We were told there were weapons of mass destruction. There were no weapons of mass destruction. It wasn't there. And I think it's very important to be skeptical. I think it's very important to ask more questions.
This seems like whataboutism with the George Bush regime, Brian.
This has nothing to do with the George Bush regime and has everything to do with intelligence.
You're talking about the war in Iraq and the fact that it was ill-advised because there wasn't actually WMDs, and you're basically assuming that the exact same thing that put us in that war is behind why Soleimani was killed.
If you listen to what I say, I'm not assuming that this is faulty intelligence. I never said it was faulty intelligence. What I'm saying is it's fair to ask more questions and try to get more information. I'm not asking for everything to come out. Obviously, there's some stuff that is classified. I understand that. What I'm saying is this, and I think it's very fair and very logical. If we're going to go after an evil man like Soleimani, we deserve a little bit more information. And the reason why I bring up the war in Iraq, I'm not bringing it up for political purposes. This has nothing to do with politics. Yeah, I think George W. Bush and his administration made a huge mistake that cost a lot of lives, but I'm bringing it up because the point I'm trying to make is sometimes our intelligence might not be right. They could be wrong. All we know in this situation and all that Donald Trump has said and all that Pompeo has said is that Soleimani was planning new attacks on American targets. Now, you look at some of the evil people throughout the world that we've never gone after. I would mention Yasser Arafat was one of them. What about Kim Jong-un? What about Vladimir Putin? These are just evil, murderous dictators. And Donald Trump is writing love stories and love letters to Kim Jong-un. If we're going to take somebody like this out, what's next?
I can guarantee you if Kim Jong-un attacks a U.S. embassy, he will be responded to. Same with Vladimir Putin. That has not taken place yet. Again, Soleimani had a group of Iraqis that attacked a U.S. embassy, and he met with that group again.
But what we don't know is what was the imminent threat. We keep hearing imminent threat, imminent threat. What was the imminent threat?
He had been a part of missions like that for 20 years. Would it be crazy to assume he was planning more of these missions?
Well, you can't assume something when you do an attack.
So you think he was going to stop?
You can't just assume.
You think he was done being a criminal?
I don't know.
He was done being a terrorist?
I don't know. I
And
doubt.
that
I doubt that. I don't know. But what Donald Trump talked about was roadside bombs that he set
Okay,
up.
so if this guy was a terrorist for 20 years and say he killed a collective 5,000 people, and we stopped him from being a terrorist for 5 more years or 10 more years or however long you wanted to be a terrorist for him, he had the money, he had the connections to do it. You aren't happy about that? You don't think that that's a complete victory? All you're worried about is the fact that maybe Trump didn't go through the proper channels to kill this guy?
No, that's not what I'm worried about. Here's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about our troops being killed. I'm worried about
no troops were killed.
Yesterday. No, but can you say for the next 5 to 10 years that that's going to happen with certainty? Can you say that? That's what I'm worried about.
In general?
Yeah, in general. Can you say that?
I can guarantee you that over the next 5 to 10 years, there will be United States military troops killed.
Can you say that?
To some degree, at some point in some war or some training mission or something.
Can you say
that will absolutely happen?
Can you say with certainty?
Which is why they are the military.
Can you say with certainty that this has saved lives and it won't more lives won't be lost? Can you say that with certainty? Because I can't.
I can say with certainty that this has saved innocent lives. Yes.
That's not what I asked. I didn't ask you if it saved
innocent lives. I'm not talking about the military, Brian. The military, they do what they do for a reason. They sign up for a reason. They get major benefits. They're guaranteed compensation because there's the risk that they are going to die. So, when they're deployed, there is a risk. They're at a much higher risk than we are that they're going to die. So and they assume that
we
risk.
Shouldn't question things then?
But this
because of that?
But this definitely saves civilian lives.
Okay,
This guy being dead is a good thing.
But you're not listening
for
to me.
the entire world, and it's a great thing that we were able to send the message. And Trump was totally right that if you do want to do what Soleimani did, you want to support terrorism, we have no problem taking you out. And I had a conversation with my brother who's in the military. He told me that one of those rockets, and there was about 24 of those shot yesterday, could easily kill 100 people. He believes, and I actually believe, that this was a save face response by Iran to make their people happy, more or less. He thinks that the United States was told what was going to happen. They were told to hide. They were said, hey, hide your troops. We're going to bomb you. It's more of a save face situation. And it was just kind of obligatory on Iran's part to not look weak. And that's where all this is coming from, Brian.
Okay, but you did, excuse me, you didn't answer my question. And the question was this: can you say with certainty that because of this?
You all right, Brian? Okay. Yeah. Can I say with certainty that because of what?
Sorry, I was coughing.
Hey, it's all right. No problem.
Can you say with certainty that this will save lives in the long run?
I think yes. Yeah,
I think yes, but you can't say with certainty, right?
I'm 90% sure that it will save lives in the long run. Why would you say that it won't?
Very simple. 2 words: Iraq War. There are a lot of people, including Democrats, by the way, including Joe Biden, who voted for the war in Iraq. When that took place, Democrats and Republicans came together and said, this is going to save lives in the long run. We need to find those weapons of mass destruction.
And again, Iraq was based on patriotism, rally around the flag because of 9/11. If 9/11 didn't take place, I don't believe Iraq would have taken place to the degree that it did.
Which made the war wrong.
And there's no situation here.
Which made it an ill-advised war.
There is no rally around the flag situation in this particular in this particular circumstance.
Then why are we not getting more specifics then about this imminent threat? We heard from Donald Trump today. Today we heard from Donald Trump about this guy, roadside bombs. Do you know how many terrorists out there in the world have set up roadside bombs and have killed innocent people? Are we just going to go after every evil person out there? You know what I think, JD? Here's what I think. I think war is about money. For the most part, I think for the most part, war is not. Hold on, let me finish.
Let me finish. Hold on.
Part of the conversation. War, for the most part, to me, is not about saving Americans. It's not about protecting America. It's about money. Just ask Dick Cheney and Halliburton how that Iraq war went out, okay? So I'm not going to buy into this equation that this is only about saving American lives and don't mess with America. I believe this is about money, okay? I've always believed war, for the most part, is about money. That's what the Iraq war was about, and I believe this is about money as well, and I think it's a bunch of crap. And the fact that Donald Trump gets up there, and by the way, he didn't answer any questions, okay? Questions need to be answered and asked to the President of the United States. He read a written statement that clearly he didn't write. I want to hear from President Trump in a situation where he's not reading from a teleprompter, because I think the families of those troops that are being sent overseas deserve to know. Let me give out the number. If you want to be a part of this conversation, 702-257-5396. Again, that number, 257-5396. Maybe some of you agree with JD. Maybe some of you agree with myself. Let's hear what you guys have to say. Let's start with Steve. Steve, thanks for calling in to the Vegas Take. What do you make of all this?
Hey, what's up, Steve?
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, good morning, guys. This is Steve with the 100,000
Right,
names.
right.
So, JD, I want to say something to you about this mentioning the general as a terrorist. I listened to a congressman this morning who's an Iraq vet. Matter of fact, he's a captain in airborne. And he says that the problem with calling a general from a state, a country, I mean, this guy was a general just like we'd have General Petraeus as a general. You can, when you name him a terrorist, then they name us terrorists, then all the rules of engagements cannot be applied. And that's particularly why the Trump administration did that, because they want to purposely take him out. So first of all, if you stop calling him a terrorist, I know he did bad things, but he's a general. So that's already by saying he's a terrorist. He's not a terrorist.
Well, hold on a second.
I'm calling him a terrorist because
he's a killer. He's a killer.
He's obviously a killer. The United States put it.
He's not Osama bin Laden hiding in caves. He's actually.
Well, Osama bin Laden is the king terrorist. I mean, he's the top of the line. You can still be a terrorist and not be at the level Osama bin Laden was. And obviously, Soleimani wasn't at that level, but he was probably in that conversation. I call him a terrorist because the United States listed him as a terrorist in 2019.
The Trump administration did. Yeah, the Trump administration did. The Obama administration and the Bush administration never did, because, like I said, once you name him a terrorist, then the rules of engagement in the military, you can just go out there.
All right. Well, I think we're speaking semantics here, but let me just say this. I think the last resort should be an act of war, and this could be an act of war. Now, listen, if this guy was specifically planning on attacking sites in this country, if this guy was trying to take out thousands of our own soldiers, I have absolutely no problem with that. I just want more specifics. We're not getting those specifics.
Well, now, what if the specifics would be a situation where the United States would have to go to war after that, and killing him was to prevent starting a war? And I actually believe that Iran was involved in this. I believe Iran tipped us off and told him exactly where he was at that time. I think he wasn't as well liked as everyone is saying. And again, Iran, as far as the attacks yesterday, Iran had to do something, to not look completely weak. They had to do something to save face. But the fact that there was 24 rockets shot off and not one American died, obviously we knew it was coming. Obviously we knew it was coming.
Go ahead, Steve.
They don't want to escalate. But the thing is, what I'm saying about this killing this general, why it was a bad decision strategically, is because you got to think about all our allies like Saudi, Dubai, Israel. They can go after Iran. They can go after Israel. They can go shoot. They can go to Dubai and blow the whole city.
Steve, listen.
So you're not really making our allies in the region safe.
Steve, make no mistake. Absolutely, Steve. Listen, make no mistake about it. You make some valid points there, and those are some of my concerns. Those are many concerns of many, both Democrats and Republicans. The response. I don't think it ends here. I hope it ends here. We'll see. 257-5396. Thank you for the call, Steve. Let's go to Al.
Call, Steve.
Al, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What do you make of all this?
What's up, Al?
Good morning. Hey, guys. Listen, I think JD makes a really valid argument, and I think what ends up happening quite a bit from the time I listen, and I listen quite often, is you have a tendency, Brian, to try to frame a question a specific way to get the answer you want from JD.
No, that's not true.
And I think that was the argument that we were making. And I'm going to ask you one question, and I'm going to hang up and let you guys discuss it.
Okay.
Do you think that Salami, as you call him, regardless of any imminent threat or anything else, just based on his history, what he's done,
yes,
did he deserve to be killed?
Absolutely.
Regardless of whether or not there was another threat.
100.
So then why does it matter?
Okay, when you say, very simple answer. When you say deserve to be killed, if he died in a car accident, if he fell off a cliff, there are a lot of ways you could die. But when America commits this act, there are consequences for the act. If he dies in a car crash or somebody in his own country decides to execute him, we don't have consequences. There's something called consequences, okay? It could be, and I say could because we don't know yet. It could be an act of war, and it could put our men and women at risk. So when you phrase a question like that and say, do you feel bad if he deserves? Of course not. If he died in any way, I'd be happy, and we should rejoice. But I want to know what the imminent threat was, Al. I think it's a very legitimate question to ask, and I don't understand why you don't understand my point there. Of course he deserved to die. Anybody who kills, let me be very clear on this, even in our own country, anybody who murders anybody in this country, in my opinion, deserves to die. I am for the death penalty. Of course, I think this bastard deserved to die. He killed hundreds, if not thousands of Americans. But there are consequences for America going after this guy. I got about 1 minute. Let's go to Andy. Andy, what's going on?
What's up, Andy?
Hey, Brian. I just want to say, you talk about the imminent threat. You want to know what happened with the imminent threat.
Yes.
Why does it matter? He killed our soldiers. He killed innocent people. He's gone. He will not kill anybody anymore in the future, not one single person. So for that, he deserves everything that came to him, and he's gone. We don't have to worry about it.
So in your personal opinion,
Good point, Andy.
I don't think it's a good point. Here's why. In your personal,
of course you don't.
Why don't you hear me out? In your personal opinion, if anybody kills an innocent person, and if you're an evil, murderous dictator in another country, America should kill you. Is that your position?
Not only America, anybody.
So we should execute Kim.
England should kill that.
Okay, hold on.
Here's the deal,
So
Brian.
we should execute Kim Jong-un and fire missiles over there. We should execute Vladimir Putin then, because that's your position, correct?
So here's the difference with that. They are actually changing their tune and actually talking to us and actually doing things possibly that could change their tune, let's just say.
Where is the information? Where is your information that would point to the fact that they are not going to continue retaliating?
Well, considering that Trump was over and actually met with Kim Jong-un and actually talked to him, he's not killing anybody anymore. He actually stopped, the missiles from flying overhead.
I didn't say kill Americans. I said he's an evil, murderous dictator. I didn't say kill Americans.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is, exactly.
Brian, you're not considering the fact that Soleimani attacked a U.S. embassy. If Kim Jong-un does that, and if Putin does that, we'll respond in kind. Basically, this guy had it coming, and he gave us a reason to do it.
Well, I'd like to know exactly what that reason was. We got to take a break. 702-257-5396. Again, that number to call. Be a part of this conversation. Calls on the way back. 257-5396. Be back right after this.
Time's running out to win $5,000 a week forever from Publishers Clearinghouse. Enter now at PCH.com and you could win $5,000 a week for your life. Plus, after that, $5,000 a week for life for someone you choose. Don't miss your chance to win because $5,000 a week forever is guaranteed to be awarded on February 28th. Enter at PCH.com before it's too late. That's PCH.com. Better hurry if you want the next big winner to be you. Enter at PCH.com now. Entries due 2/25. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company presents
And Doug.
Limu, when we're not telling people that Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need, I've actually been moonlighting as a DJ. What? Check it! Here's the good part! Liberty, 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 liberty. Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Hi, I'm Raymond Denon, Vice President of Optima Tax Relief. If you're in debt to the IRS, there's a lot you need to know. Starting with rule number 1, don't mess with the IRS. They can garnish your paycheck, levy your bank accounts, even take your home or business. That's all true. But it's also true that there's a way out. It's called the Fresh Start Initiative. It's one of the biggest breaks the IRS has ever offered. If you qualify, you could save thousands, even tens of thousands. Nobody knows this program like us, the experts at Optima Tax Relief. We have an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau, and we've resolved over $500 million in tax debt for our clients. We'll stand between you and the IRS and fight to get you the best deal possible. Don't mess with the IRS. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust. Call Optima for a free consultation.
Call 800-375-2922. 800-375-2922. 800-375-2922.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Special report, Trump addresses nation.
President Trump wants to avoid further military confrontation with Iran, but he is calling on European allies to work with him in trying to get Iran to end its nuclear ambitions.
They must now break away from the remnants of the Iran deal, or JCPOA, and we must all work together toward making a deal with Iran that makes the world a safer and more peaceful place.
The president offered no new threats against Iran and said he would rather resolve the dispute in a non-military manner. He said all of our soldiers are safe and only minimal damage was sustained.
Our great American forces are prepared for anything. Iran appears to be standing down, which is a good thing for all parties concerned and a very good thing for the world.
The administration believes Iran's missile attack was aimed at preventing casualties while sending a response for the killing of its top general. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads in the K-Don Traffic Center.
This report sponsored by Lowe's. The accident I-15 northbound approaching Russell Road, vehicles off to the right. Expect slowing from the Southern Beltway. And an accident I-15 north at Sahara, vehicles blocking the right lane there. A crash on the Western Beltway northbound near Lake Mead Boulevard. And watch for slowing for an accident on 15 southbound at Sahara at the on-ramp. Pros do it right by shopping at Lowe's to save on the supplies they need most from the brands they trust to get the job done. Do it right for less. Start with Lowe's. I'm John Michaels from the K-Don Traffic Center.
Here is some great news. If you missed the deadline to sign up for health insurance, or if you sign up for a plan that you're just not happy with, you still have a choice. It's called MediShare. It's the affordable alternative to health insurance, and it's worked beautifully for 25 years. They have more than 400,000 members now around the country. MediShare is a Christian healthcare sharing ministry, and over the years, members have shared over $3 billion of each other's medical bills, so they could help share your needs too. And best of all, you could save a lot of money with MediShare. The typical savings for a family is about $500 a month. Your savings could be more or less, but think about what you could do with that extra money every month. You're not stuck with a high-cost health plan. You can join MediShare anytime, so call them today and check it out. Here's the number to find out more, and there's no pressure. They are super easy to talk to. Call 844-91-BIBLE. That's 844-91-BIBLE. 844-91-BIBLE.
Sean Hannity, weekdays noon to 3 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM. K-Don.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. This is where you get stuff from a Vegas perspective. And, of course, we always love hearing from you. The number 257-5396. By the way, Congress will be receiving some classified briefings within the next few hours, from what I've heard, on salami strike, as I like to call it, and these Iran developments. So, listen, we're going to get more information, hopefully more specifics that maybe some people in Congress will be able to share with us. Not all. We don't want all the specifics. We don't want to comprise, most of our intelligence. But I think we need more information than just, well, this guy put up some roadside bombings. Yes, he's a murderer. Yes, he killed Americans. And new attacks were on the way. We need a little bit more information than that, in my personal opinion. And our producer, Jason Stein, brings up a really good point. And I pose this question to our listeners if they want to call in. What if Iran went after one of our bases, and then Barack Obama's response was sanctions? I know that Republicans and people on the right would be going freaking nuts. They'd be going crazy. They'd be calling him every name in the book. So I also pose that question to all of you. What if Obama, reacted in this way when Iran went after our bases and the response was sanctions?
Yeah, caveat here now is, would that be before or after he paid them $150 billion?
Well, I didn't agree with that.
I think after, you're probably right, but before, probably not.
First of all, anybody who goes after Donald Trump, I want to say, well, what did you think about this? What did you think about that? And to be very clear, I was not for that payment in any way, shape, or form. We have enough problems in our own country. I was completely against that payment, but I also will say he didn't start any wars either. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Again, 702-257-5396. I do think that is a fair criticism of Barack Obama. I think it is fair to criticize anybody, but I will say Obama is no longer the president of the United States. Let's go back to the phone lines, and let's start off with Paul. Paul, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, Paul?
Hey, so I know you're wanting specifics, but, like you said, if you start giving specifics, then our intelligence they would have the opportunity to figure out who the intelligence is coming from. And I don't, it's no matter what the president does, he's not correct.
I disagree.
I think he was correct for the strike that he made, and now that he's doing sanctions, the further along this goes, the further along I feel to believe that Iran was in on this, and I think they wanted this guy gone because you know what? How do you launch that many missiles and not kill anybody?
Exactly.
I believe that they wanted him gone, and it was kind of like we would both get a little egg on our faces to get rid of him. And now I think that what they're going to do is, since we've done sanctions, they're going to begin to comply, and it'll last for a little while, and then later on we'll have another dust up. But
well, first of all, let me respond to what you just said, Paul, and say, as an American, I certainly hope you are right. I certainly hope that Iran and America can get along. We don't want any more innocent people to die, so I agree with you. In response to how do you throw out all those missiles and nobody gets hurt, nobody gets killed or hurt? Well, we have a response to those missiles based on technology, and I think it is very possible. I don't know if Iran and the U.S. were involved together in knowing that this was going to happen. Certainly, if they are, and they gave us those warnings, then that is a great sign. But we don't know. But, Paul, we don't know that for sure.
No, actually, Brian, there's 1,500 troops on that base. Not one of them died
because of the technology that we have.
Because they were told in advance, in my opinion, what was going to happen.
Paul said it.
And they were probably all standing in a gymnasium.
Okay, well, Paul just said it. We don't know anything for sure, I
just think that the diplomacy is extremely complicated. It's not like two people having an argument and coming up. There's so much at stake as far as lives, money.
Oh, there's no question, Paul.
Everything.
But Paul, don't you think it's fair to be able to ask questions and to be a little bit skeptical based on the Iraq War?
It is, but then again, I mean, obviously it's an analogy, but when your parents made a decision, whether you liked it or not, you had to live with it. And you know what? Sometimes you make decisions as a parent that your kids may not like.
So are you saying that Trump is Brian's daddy?
Thank God he's not.
Not really, but what I think, obviously he's the one leading our country, and these decisions can't be easy.
I understand. There are difficult. I understand,
Paul.
Paul.
About killing anybody.
Paul, I get.
The point is he's protecting us.
I understand, Paul. Listen, Paul, I get your point, but at the same time, parents make difficult decisions based on a few people, kids. The leader of the free world makes decisions based on millions and millions of people. So while I kind of understand your analogy, I think it's a poor analogy. I understand what you're saying, though. I hope that you are right. 702-257-5396.
Good call, Paul.
702-257-5396. Let's go to Mike. Mike, you're next on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
What's up, Mike?
Hey, Brian. How you doing today?
Good. What's up?
Hey, sir. So I was just replying to what you said as far as how Republicans would react to Obama if it was just sanctions. And I think it's important to note that it's also talking about the sequence of events. So if there would have been an attack on a U.S. embassy and Obama would have responded with a military act and then didn't respond to a subsequent act by Iran and just responded with sanctions in order to de-escalate, I think a lot of people would support that. But if it would have just been an attack and there was no provocation, and then our response would have been just sanctions, of course, many Republicans would be very upset because they would expect a military response to a military question.
Okay, that's a fair point. Let me respond by saying this. And I'm not going to mention any names here, but there are some wacky right-wing talk show hosts out there. You know who you are. There are some out there in the world, particularly in this country, that are warmongers that say nuke them all, kill them all. And I'm going to tell you something about some of those people. They're cowards. You know why they're cowards, Anthony? Because many of those people and some of those right-wing talk show hosts are the same people that never served and are the same people that would never send their kids overseas, but yet they want to say, go, 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 fight, fight, fight.
Of course, we're talking about the Lindsey Graham podcast.
Well, I never listened to the Lindsey Graham podcast, but he is a coward, by the way. He sold his soul to the devil. But do you understand what I'm saying, Anthony? While everyone has a right to their opinion, I never have respect for these warmongers who never served, some of them who never served, many of their family members never served. Many of these politicians, they're not sending their kids overseas. Some of them are, a very small percentage of them. But if you're going to be pro-war and you're going to be a warmonger, I want to know if you served or anybody in your family has served, because my first concern, Anthony, is those brave men and women in uniform, and I don't want to put them in harm's way. And that is who I'm thinking of first.
I got you 100%. I completely agree with you. And I just got to respond. My name's Mike, but thanks.
Oh, I apologize. Sorry about that, Mike. We have a lot of.
No problem. I agree with you 100%. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you.
Good call, Mike.
Sorry, Mike. I got full screen of callers, and sometimes I get my name.
Here's the difference between the Obama administration and the Trump administration. Obama would have paid another $250 billion.
No, he wouldn't have.
He would have tried to stop war by paying him off.
That's not. That's ridiculous.
Trump says this is not going to fly. I'm going to take out one of your top military leaders.
Don't even get me started with the comparisons to Barack Obama and Donald Trump, because there are plenty of them, and Barack Obama actually had some respect.
Right. Let's talk about the relevant one, though, Brian. In this particular situation,
the relevant one.
The relevant one.
Do you realize? Do you realize
matching
that
the topic that we're discussing, not the fact that Barack Obama is a quote unquote good man?
No, Obama. Do you know when
Donald
Obama
Trump gets involved in trysts and hangs out with prostitutes and pays off people and lies, etc.? I'm talking about with this particular situation and how he's handling Iran.
Let's talk about
and how Barack Obama handled Iran.
Okay, let's talk. No, let's talk about that. That's fine. Do you realize Donald Trump was the guy that tweeted out when Barack Obama was president, he's going to just start a war with Iran because he wants to become president? Do you realize it was Donald Trump?
Donald Trump is already president. His polling numbers are not down. They're actually extremely high right now. He doesn't need any help. This guy should have been dead a long time ago, and he finally did the job. He did the world a favor by killing Qasem Soleimani, and especially in the way that he did by ripping his freaking body in half.
Excuse me.
If you look up Qasem Soleimani right now, his body, it literally looks like it was cut in half.
Okay, that's fine. I'm happy about that. That's great. I'm not concerned about that.
I'm very pleased about it as well.
Okay, I'm sure you are, but I'm not going to be pleased if more of our men and women in uniform die because of it. Number to call 702-257-5396. By the way, we haven't even discussed this Ukrainian plane that mysteriously went down. I believe 67 Canadians were on this flight, and you're telling me that there's hold on a second. You're telling me that there's no comparison, or it's just, oh, what a coincidence that this plane goes down at the same time that this missile strike was happening when all these innocent people were on this plane. I'd like to talk a little bit about that. What do you guys think about that? You're telling me that this plane wasn't shot down? I'd like to know a little bit more about that. Trump didn't mention it. I want to talk about that.
New information came out. Iran will not give the United States the black boxes on those planes.
Yeah. All right. Well,
that plane.
I do find it also.
Obviously, there's some negative things going on there. There's some.
What a shocker, by the way, that nobody said the word impeachment this morning. None of the right-wing talk show hosts want to talk about that the president was just impeached. I do find that interesting. What a distraction. 702-257-5396, the number to call. Let's go to Anthony. Anthony, you are next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Yes. Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good.
What's up, Anthony?
It is a problem that we're taking on generals. I don't agree with it. I think people like me who deployed, who killed a lot of people based on giving orders and orders taking. I think that, now we could become targets. I think this is setting a horrible precedent. You deal with generals in certain ways. You deal with how Clinton dealt with one. Where you catch them, you put them on trial, and you put them away for life because they're dealing with orders.
Right.
I think that our generals are the killing of 200,000 Iraqis. But now they can be targeted. So I don't agree with this. I think that we are Americans for a reason, and we are the best of the best for a reason, and we deal with rules of engagement.
Yeah.
So,
Anthony, hang on the line here, Anthony. There are two different scenarios here, okay, that we're going to talk about. There's scenario number one, where this is a complete disaster, and Iran, we lose all cooperation with Iran. Many of our soldiers are put in harm's way and die. More innocent people die than if this guy was alive. And then the other scenario, the other side of it, is that this guy was an imminent threat to America. It's a good thing for the world and this country. Maybe perhaps the Iranians wanted this guy gone too, although I doubt that when you have hundreds of thousands of people that are saying death to America. Millions, right. So I don't know. But there's two different scenarios here. Either it was the right thing to do or it wasn't the right thing to do. Listen, if it was the right thing to do, then American lives are going to be saved, and we're going to save some money in the process too. And if it was the wrong thing to do, we're going to spend billions of dollars and more people are going to die. It's one or the other.
And you talk about a million people saying death to America. There's 80.1 million people in Iran. That's roughly 1.5% of the population of Iran. If this guy was that popular, the number would be about 25 million, not one.
I disagree with that. I completely. If a million people take to the streets and are screaming death to America, that is not a good thing to America. That's just. Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, I think that the one thing about this general and the way he worked is that he has proxies in Lebanon, in Syria. So he has proxies now where they're all preparing, right, to attack any time that is given an order to do so. I think that now we really have to think how we deal with this differently. I think that in Iraq right now, he had 500,000 proxy unit of 500,000 people. We have 3,000 there right now.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Yeah. No, Anthony, that's a
I think
very valid point.
it's a lot of work we have to do with this. We'll see how this goes. Again, Trump is our commander in chief. He gave the order. We have to obey it as members of the military. I'm retired now. I'm no longer.
Yes.
But
thank you for your service.
If given that order, I would have taken it because he's my commander.
No, and I know you would have, Anthony, and you're one of those brave men and women in uniform, and we appreciate your service and your phone call. Thank you, Anthony.
Good call, Anthony.
702-257-5396. Was this the right move? Are you happy with the press conference that Donald Trump gave out this morning? Do you think that it is fair to ask questions? Do you think that it is fair to be skeptical? Do you think that it is fair to say, well, wait a second, a lot of people on the right, are they happy with just sanctions when Iran goes after our military bases, whether somebody died or not? Are you happy with that? 257-5396. Let's go to Ed. Ed, you are next up on the Vegas Take. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, in October, you were complaining that Trump was pulling troops out of Kurdish areas and betraying the Kurds.
Yes, I was.
These 4 servicemen wounded and a contractor killed was in the Kurdish area of
Yes,
Iraq.
I was.
So you want the troops there. It's betraying the Kurds. When the troops are there, they come under attack. Then you say, well, Trump's wagging the dog and distracting.
No, I didn't
from
say that.
impeachment.
No, you're putting words in my mouth. Ed, first of all, let's start with your first comments. Okay, well, I'll say the exact same thing. You could play the tape all you want to. I know what I said, and you're absolutely right. I said that, and by the way, so did Lindsey Graham, and so did just about almost every Republican was on my side on that one, and they were very disappointed with the. So don't make it like only lefties or talk show hosts that maybe dislike Trump were saying that. There were Republicans that couldn't be more supportive of the president that were against the withdrawal of troops in Syria. So that's number one, Ed. That's very.
Well, you want the troops there if they're attacked.
Okay, I'm just pointing out. I'm just pointing.
Well, Joe,
Okay,
that's okay.
I'm
And
just.
then we have another reason to attack Trump.
Hold on, Ed. I didn't finish my response. I'll let you respond. I just wanted to make the point that you're saying that you're going after me for saying that I was criticizing Trump for withdrawing the troops out there in Syria. All I'm trying to tell you is many Republicans agreed with me. So that's number one. I'm not alone on that, and Democrats aren't alone on that. Number two, when we are talking about this specific man, all we learned is that there were new attacks on American targets, and I'm saying we need more information. Maybe it was the right response, but even idiots on Fox News like Tucker Carlson agree with me that we can't just go after every single evil, murderous person in the world. So that is my concern. So I don't know why you're bringing up Syria. I don't know what that has to do with this.
We have troops in the Kurdish areas in both Iraq and Syria, and that was the topic. But we lost 4,500 troops under Bush due to hostile action, 1,750 under Obama, and 60 under Trump. So it's bad to lose troops, but I'd rather lose 20 a year under Trump than 220 a year under Obama and 500 a year under Bush. So he's been doing a good job protecting the troops. If I think that's the bottom line. Thank you.
Okay. Well, certainly the bottom line is we don't want any of our troops losing their lives. I don't disagree with you. I hope that trend continues where lives are saved. I'm not so sure that this act on General Salami will save lives. Time will tell and give us the answer. 702-257-5396. A man by the name of Mr. Love on the line. Mr. Love, are you there?
Yes, I am. Hey, Brian, how are you?
Good. What's going
up,
on?
Mr. Love?
Hey, it's CJ, right?
That would be JD.
No,
My
JD.
name is
JD.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I was driving. I couldn't hear.
That's okay.
I just want to salute you guys today. Generally, Brian, it just seems like you're so overbearing. Please don't be offended. I know you can handle it. But today, you're letting the other brother talk a little bit more, and I love his points that he's making. I'm going to start listening again. I've got quite a large network, and a lot of us haven't listened because before, Brian, you were really sharp with one of our friends and kind of cut him off.
And why did I do that?
Because he said something about your IQ, and you took offense to that, and called Tucker Carlson an idiot.
Yeah, he is.
And,
Well, hold on a second. Let me just start from the beginning here. If somebody calls up and doesn't make a valid point and just says I have a low IQ, I'm not going to keep somebody like that on the air. The reason why I go after Tucker Carlson because he said something I would never say on or off the air. The idea of white supremacy is a hoax. A week or two after 22 people died in Texas, El Paso, at the hands of a white supremacist. So you are correlating me hanging up on somebody because they said I had a low IQ to Tucker Carlson saying that the idea of white supremacy is a hoaxer. I'm sorry, but that's idiotic. With all due respect, I hope.
No, I get it. You're right.
Okay, then why are you bringing that up then? Then why are you bringing it? Then why are you bringing it up?
I was just telling you why I'm going to start listening more often.
I appreciate that.
Because because I'm hearing both sides of the issue.
Yeah, Brian,
As
he was
opposed to
saying
just a leftist radical. I mean, you always are 1,000 points against Donald Trump and everything he does.
Okay, so let me ask you a
I
question.
want to give you a hug, bro.
All right, well, let me ask you another
word.
Okay, well,
Radical is a good word.
Let me ask you another question, Mr. Love. So it is your position that if you dislike Donald Trump as a human being, you think he's a horrible human being, that is your definition of a leftist radical? Please be specific.
Well, let me just say, I've actually met him. I've actually been his executive
So what?
protection.
So what?
No, I'm saying I know he's not a horrible individual.
Really?
I know
so you
that
shook
he's
his
not a horrible person.
So you
I've
shook
got
his
more
hand.
of a-
So you shook his hand and took a selfie with him, and
No,
because
no,
of
no,
that,
no,
you know.
no. It was a little more than that.
Oh,
And
it was.
I'm in
Okay.
the
I
observation
see.
business.
Oh,
So
I
being
see.
close
Okay.
to him and his family.
Okay. Yeah, I see.
I could
All right.
see
Yeah.
through observation and the way he treats his children and people around him.
How
of
he
all
treats
different
his
races.
children and people. Okay, so let's go with that for a second, Mr. Love. Let's go with that for a second. How he treats people.
Brian,
Hold on a second.
No, hold on.
No,
hold on, Brian. Do you
I want to
do
respond
you
to this
understand
guy.
what's going on? He is complimenting you, and now he's and you asked him, well, why?
Brian.
What did I do wrong? And he's telling you what you did wrong.
He just called me a radical leftist.
And now you're trying to defend yourself.
Excuse me.
When the whole entire call was predicated on
Excuse me.
him. So just accept the compliment.
No.
You're not perfect. No one's going to always.
Didn't say I was
You're starting to
perfect.
act like Donald Trump.
No,
You want everybody to love
Thank
you.
you. Oh, then Mr. Love must like me then.
That's
I
not
must
the
be a
case
great
here,
guy
Brian. He's just telling you why he stopped listening and why he's going to continue listening. And now you're getting mad at him.
Let me explain
for
why I'm mad.
explaining why he stopped listening.
Let me explain why I'm frustrated. Let me explain, Mr. Love, why I'm frustrated. You called me a leftist radical. Okay, I voted right and left. I am very fair. I don't.
I'm an independent as well.
Okay. So would I call you a right-wing radical? Have I ever called you that before?
You probably have mentioned other people that I have similar views with.
Okay, well, I don't recall ever saying that. The point I'm trying to make is just because I dislike Donald Trump doesn't mean you know my voting record. And just because you spent 10 or 15 minutes with Trump doesn't mean he's a great guy. Let me explain why.
Sure.
Let's just say you spent weeks and months with him and you went on an island with him, okay? The bottom line is this.
No, that's not our party, bro.
Well, facts matter, and here's facts, okay? Facts are he went after John McCain, and he said he didn't respect him because he was captured, okay? That
was a bad comment that he made.
It's not a bad comment. It shows character, and it means you're a bad person. Number two, he had unprotected. Hold on, I'm not done yet. He had.
I know. Let you talk.
Okay, thank you. He had unprotected sex with a porn star just months after his wife had a child. That's number two. He is the king of infidelity, and I mean the king.
Wow.
He goes after.
Yeah, see, I don't believe that. I mean, I live in Vegas.
You don't
believe that? I know a couple of kings of infidelity.
So explain to me what that $120,000 payment was, please.
Well, if he's having sex with a porn star, happened, that's really none of our business. It was way before
you just said. Listen, you're the one who brought in a good person, not
me.
me.
If the man likes to have sex, doesn't mean he's a freaking
liking to have sex and cheating on multiple wives are two completely different things.
Brian,
please don't distort the two.
You don't know what those arrangements were.
Being unfaithful is a horrible person, is what you're saying.
Good
Lord, there's quite a lot of us out here.
I wasn't done.
I've never done that.
Me. I
wouldn't judge somebody forever and ever over
I wasn't done with the list, okay? By the way, going after POWs and Gold Star families and illegal immigrants, and by the way...
Oh, now look how he's been with Gold Star families, Brian. Be fair.
I am being fair.
How many times have you seen him on TV?
Do you remember what...
20 or 30 Gold Star mothers.
Do you remember
how he's treated them?
Really? Do you remember what took place, the Democratic National Convention, when that family... I'm getting interrupted once again. Go ahead, JD.
He likes to isolate the one negative thing. There could be 45 positive things, but he isolates that one negative thing.
I agree.
I have about 45
Brian to
negative
relax
things.
A little bit, man. You don't give any credit at all, ever, to our president, ever. It must be. I don't know why. There's different reasons I have.
I can give you the best possible answer.
Just let a couple of things go, bro, and relax a little bit.
No,
that's my opinion.
Okay, well, here's why I don't.
He's not a bad president.
Okay, he's a bad person. There's no doubt about that. And I know you want to claim that you know the man very well. He is a horrible human being. And
I disagree with you 100%.
Okay, well, if you think it's okay to cheat on multiple wives and go after POWs.
I don't think it's okay.
And you think,
hold on, I'm not a horrible person.
Okay, well, how about attacking a woman based on her looks? Are you okay with that too?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay, but you're just going to give him a pass on those three things that I just mentioned.
I'm not okay with that.
Okay, well, guess what?
But listen,
that's what he's done.
I'm not a guy from New York that's been raised up like that. and I'm sure
I know
he's
many
involved.
people.
I know
Excuse
he's
me.
involved.
I know many people in New York that do not go after POWs and go after women based on their looks. So don't make the excuse because
Well,
he was
he's never
born
been
in New
a
York.
politician before either.
That's not
So
an
you have a
excuse,
businessman
and that's not an
a street
excuse.
businessman.
And I know many people that are not politicians that don't go after POWs and women. So would you like to make
But
another
have you ever heard of
excuse?
forgive and forget and try to move on?
Forgive and forget and try to
probably
move on. Really?
You have to worry about an ulcer and things like that. You're so aggressive. I know that there's ratings involved or whatever, but I don't believe that you really believe all the stuff that you're
Let me tell you
saying,
something,
man.
my friend. There are many people on the air all over the country that say things that they don't mean. I believe there are many people on Fox News that say things that they don't mean and they try to appease to a base. Let me tell you something, man, and this is something you need to know about me. And if you don't believe me, that's fine. I really don't care. But I'm going to
okay. I'm listening.
All right.
brother.
Well, here's what I'm going to say, and I'm going to say it right now, and I mean it 150%. I have never said anything on this radio show that I didn't truly believe in my heart. Do you believe that about me, JD? Do you think I say things on this radio show just for ratings, or do you?
No, I don't. I think you believe what you say, and I know I believe what I say. And that's what separates our show from no one's paying us to say anything.
No.
What we're saying, we actually believe.
Yeah, let's try. Exactly. So if there's one thing you take away from that phone call, my man, I do appreciate the kind words. I'm glad you're listening. Doesn't mean you're going to always agree with us. That's the beauty of this show. I've got about 1 minute for Alan. Alan, thanks for calling in. Quickly, go ahead.
Morning. I just wanted to say one thing. Having fought in the Middle East, I was actually greeted by the indigenous population after we tried to get close to them and help them out. Was actually told for an infidel, I wasn't a bad guy. So there's an ideology involved there. They're brought up different than we are here. And if we can embrace our ideologies instead of going after each other and trying to kill each other. And I've taken lives of enemy soldiers, so I know what I'm talking about.
Alan, hang on the line. Alan, I want you to hang on the line for me. I'm up against a hard break. Can you do that for us? Can you do that, Alan?
Sure.
All right. I appreciate your patience. And I'm up against a hard break. I don't want to cut you off. I appreciate your service, and I want to give you more time to respond. We've got other people on the line as well. 702-257-5396. I want to hear from those war veterans like Alan. We'll hear from him again when we come back on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Vegas Take, 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.
With PatriotSoftware.com, accounting and payroll, keep your time and money.
Mike Capel here, serial entrepreneur with words from another happy payroll customer.
Well, it's very easy to use. From the login and the setup was extremely easy. I didn't have to call anyone for help. I was able to do it on my own. And I love the fact that I can run my payroll and print my pay stubs, and then you guys do all of the filing for me. So I get a quarterly report that everything's been filed on my behalf. And then at the end of the year, I can print out my W-2s. So I use you guys. I tell everybody, it's the easiest thing I've ever done. Why anybody doesn't use y'all, I don't know.
Visit us at PatriotSoftware.com. Use promo code RADIO and get 2 months of payroll free. That's PatriotSoftware.com.
With PatriotSoftware.com, accounting and payroll, keep your time and money.
I'm Jim Snyder.
And I'm Marie Mortera. We want to thank you for making News 3 your #1 choice for news.
Every weeknight at 11, you can count on us to have the big story of the day.
Plus breaking news that matters to you.
Jim Snyder and Marie Mortera, News 3 live at 11.
Las Vegas Divas Day Out is back. The largest women's expo returns January 25th at the Galleria at Sunset. Dozens of vendors with samples and sales of hundreds of all things favorite to women. Want to be a vendor? Go to divasdayout.com for more information. Vendor space is limited.
Listen to the Texas Corners Bible Church every Saturday night at 11 p.m. and Sunday night at 10 p.m. on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.
This is Lorraine Hunt Bono, inviting you to tune in for Breaking Bread with Bono. Join my husband, Dennis Bono, as celebrities share with him their intimate and humorous stories. Saturdays, 5 to 6 p.m., right here on KDAWN.
My name is Sam Murjovsky.
I'm Ashley Watkins, the Ash of Sam and Ash.
Sam and Ash, your personal injury attorneys. Find them at samandash.com.
What's most important to me and to Ashley is managing the kind of practice that puts the client's case first.
You're helping them get through something that they never anticipated happening to them.
Find out more at samandash.com or call 1-800-304-2000. Sam and Ash, because you deserve what's right.
You need an attorney that's focused on helping you get to to the end that you deserve.
This is John Greenhut, and if your teeth are stained from coffee, tea, or smoking, Power Swabs is the answer. In 5 minutes, you'll see 2 shades whiter teeth, and in 7 days, 6 shades. Even better, there's no messy strips or trays that you'll have to leave in your mouth for an hour. Just swab your teeth for 5 minutes, and you're done. To try Power Swabs, call 1-800-679-0969. Your bright white smile will have your friends talking about how great you look. Try it risk-free. 1-800-679-0969. That's 1-800-679-0969.
Your home for Sean Hannity. KDWN Las Vegas, KKLZ HD2 Las Vegas, a Beasley Media Group station.
Best deterrent.
President Trump speaking for the first time since Iran's non-deadly attack against 2 U.S. bases inside Iraq.
Our missiles are big, powerful, accurate, lethal, and fast. Under construction are many hypersonic missiles. The fact that we have this great military and equipment, however, does not mean we have to use it. We do not want to use it.
But Trump says the U.S. will tighten economic screws on the Iranian regime.
As we continue to evaluate options in response to Iranian aggression, the United States will immediately impose additional punishing economic sanctions on the Iranian regime.
He called on NATO allies to help to try to force Iran to negotiate a new non-nuclear agreement. I'm Mike Moss. Republican leaders on Capitol Hill have been calling for a restrained U.S. response to the conflict with Iran. Correspondent Linda Kenyon has their reaction.
Senator Lindsey Graham, a top Trump supporter, tweets, "Retaliation for the sake of retaliation is not necessary at this time." Senator Mike Lee tweets the president should de-escalate and come to Congress before any potential next steps. And Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who spoke to Trump after the missile attacks, praised him for not immediately reacting and says he believes the president when he says he wants to avoid conflict or needless loss of life. Linda Kenyon, Capitol Hill.
The U.S. Army is warning Americans about a wave of fraudulent text messages falsely telling Americans they have been drafted into military service. The fake text messages instruct the recipients to report to the nearest Army recruiting branch for immediate departure to Iran. The messages appear to have been sent nationwide. On Wall Street, the Dow up 211. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads in the KDON Traffic Center.
This report sponsored by Circle K. Watch for slowing for the crash I-15 northbound at Sahara, blocking the right lane, traffic heavy from Trop. And also an accident on the Western Beltway northbound near Lake Mead Boulevard. A crash 15 southbound at Sahara on-ramp. And an accident on Summerlin Parkway eastbound at Rampart, also at the on-ramp. And one more on the surface streets. It's a crash at Charleston at the 215. Injury sustained. Police and fire are with the scene. At Circle K, every cup of coffee is ground fresh, and that means for a mouth-watering split second, Circle K coffee is actually truly the freshest in the world, starting at $1. I'm John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
This holiday season, get the rest you deserve with Helix Sleep. Helix makes personalized mattresses to fit your unique body type and sleep preferences and give you the best sleep of your life. Go to helixsleep.com and get up to $200 off during their holiday sale.
If you're one of the millions of Americans who owes back taxes, if you get nervous when the mail comes because you might get a letter from the IRS, then you've heard. Their enforcement agents are cracking down this year and can garnish your paycheck, levy your bank accounts, even your home or business could be at risk over unpaid taxes. It's all true, but it's also true there's a way out. It's called the Fresh Start Initiative, an important government program for tax debt assistance. The award-winning experts at Optima Tax Relief will fight to get you the best deal possible, protecting your paycheck and your assets from IRS collections. But don't delay, because the IRS is tacking on interest and hefty penalties every single day. So don't wait until it's too late. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-375-2922. 800-375-2922. 800-375-2922.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
I'm Jim Snyder.
And I'm Marie Mortera. We want to thank you for making News 3 your #1 choice for news.
Every weeknight at 11, you can count on us to have the big story of the day.
Plus breaking news that matters to you.
Jim Snyder and Marie Mortera. News 3 live at 11.
Las Vegas Divas Day Out is back. The largest women's expo returns January 25th at the Galleria at Sunset. Dozens of vendors with samples and sales of hundreds of all things favorite to women. Want to be a vendor? Go to divasdayout.com for more information. Vendor space is limited.
1015 FM, 720 AM. KDON, the talk of Las Vegas. The opinions of the hosts on KDWN are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group. Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, rolling out the red carpet for hour number 2. So glad you could join us. A lot to get to. By the way, coming up at the bottom of the hour, I promise you this is going to be an interesting interview. At least it should be. He is known, JD, right, as Donald Trump's little dirty trickster. He is a right-wing conspiracy theorist, and I don't even think he would mind me saying that. Jacob Wohl will be joining us on the show coming up at the bottom of the hour. He actually recently made some headlines in national news saying that he would deploy and he would be a service member if there is a war against Iran. So we'll talk to him about that, too, coming up, Jacob Wohl, at the bottom of the hour. Of course, the big news this morning, Trump commenting, holding a press conference, even though he didn't answer any questions on this Iran attack. And he's talking about his response, and it might surprise some people. This is Donald Trump in his own words in regards to a response to the Iran attacks last night.
As we continue to evaluate options in response to Iranian aggression, the United States will immediately impose additional punishing economic sanctions on the Iranian regime. These powerful sanctions will remain until Iran changes its behavior.
So that's very interesting because you didn't hear anything about a military response, but we're talking about sanctions, and we're taking your phone calls at 702-257-5396. And we have Alan, who's been waiting patiently on hold. I wanted to give him enough time to respond. Alan is a war veteran. Alan, I appreciate your patience in waiting on the line. I guess I want to get your opinion on Donald Trump and sanctions. What is your response to that as someone who served in the military? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, then I would let your listeners know this. Since they're not, some of them, or a lot of them, they're not in the military, they've never been in the military, I can tell you, we have weaponry that can inflict such horrendous damage. The president knows that. He made the statement. He doesn't have to use it. I think Iran knows that if we chose to use the weapons that we have that are so far advanced over anything they've got, we could destroy the nation in a matter of minutes.
I agree with that.
So,
yep.
So it's not necessary to use them if your enemy knows that you have the capability. I agree with what the president said. I would put sanctions on them. They know we can destroy them. That's right. That's a given. So I agree with what the president did.
Okay.
He's going to make life a little uncomfortable for them so that they won't continue doing what they're doing. Now, if they start killing Americans, then the gloves come off, and then some of that hardware that we've got, we're going to have to use. And I think Iran is not stupid. They realize that it will be used. So that is why they picked targets where no human life was lost. So they're not dumb, okay, but they are the enemy. And one thing I'll say, and I'll stay on if you want, in the history of mankind, has there ever been a time when someone hasn't tried to inflict their will on another populist or religious belief? It's the nature of man. It has not changed.
I don't disagree with what you're saying, Alan, and I'll say it again. Thank you so much for your service, but I want to ask you this question. Now, you served in Iraq, correct?
Correct.
So what went through your mind when, and by the way, there are still troops in Iraq right now, when we learned that our intelligence was faulty and that it was an ill-advised war, and we found Saddam Hussein with a pellet gun and a candy bar in a hole in the ground, and there were no WMDs. What went through your mind when we learned that?
Well, then I have to tell you this. The military code, if I'm given an order, the only order I will not follow would be to execute an unarmed individual.
I understand that, Alan. I'm not questioning
Right.
that. You sound like a smart guy. You're a hero. I am not questioning that, and I know, regardless of whether you are for or against a war, you would do what you were told. I'm not questioning that, Alan. I'm just asking you now a personal question. Now that you're not deployed, what went through your mind when we learned that?
Well, okay, I'll answer it in two parts. One, when we didn't know that, I was given orders to engage the enemy, and I did that, knowing that if I didn't, they would take my life. So I couldn't permit that or the lives of the soldiers that I fought with.
Yes.
After I found out what you basically just stated, it's a little disappointing, but intelligence is a fleeting thing. It changes all the time. And I'll be honest with you, even when we're told what we're told, I still think that there's a little bit that's held back so that basically opinions can be influenced. So the only thing that I can say is when I was there were Muslim individuals, the people that lived there, they were good people. I wasn't fighting them. I was fighting those that were radical and believed that I was an infidel and
No, I understand, Alan. And listen, tens of thousands of those innocent people died, sadly. Thousands of our own soldiers died. JD, you had a question for Alan.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I want to talk to you, Alan. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You mentioned how we could basically just destroy Iran in one foul swoop. It looks like we have, I looked at a map yesterday, it looks like we have about 20 military bases surrounding Iran from all directions. Is that true?
I can't comment on that. I don't know. All I know is that the hardware that we've got, we don't even have to put soldiers on the ground.
Yeah.
We could basically, with what I saw when I was there, it would be over in a matter of minutes.
Alan, I don't think Alan, I believe you, and I don't think anybody would doubt that. Let me just say this in closing. Again, thank you for your service. You're a hero, and we appreciate you listening and calling into this program. We appreciate your perspective. Thank you so much, Alan, for the call. We really appreciate it.
Stay together, guys.
All right.
It's a nation that's getting divided. We have to stop
You're
that.
right about
okay?
that. You're right about that, Alan. I would not disagree with you, my friend.
Yeah,
Thank
good
you.
call, Alan.
Thank you so much. Good to hear from you.
He brings up a good point. Donald Trump, whether he wants to go to war or not, now the way that he's handling this, and I prefer that a president with zero experience in the military or in war, who actually is a businessman, handles this, from a business perspective and making economic sanctions. I want a guy like Donald Trump, considering we have a good economy and he understands how these things work.
I'll say that.
I appreciate the fact that he is leveraging his strengths, which is the economy, and at the same time, which is actually a very, very smart, shrewd move, he's making it look like, even if he wants to go to war, he's making it look like he doesn't. Well, and if they decide to keep attacking us and retaliating against us after this, then he doesn't have a choice, and then he can't be called a warmonger.
I'll say this. I can't believe I'm going to defend Mike Pence here, but I will. I'd rather Mike Pence be the vice president right now than Dick Cheney, who I believe cared more about money and Halliburton than he did about our troops. As much as I can't stand Mike Pence, I don't think Mike Pence would make a decision based on financial gain rather than our troops. 702.
And let's be honest, does the timing of this help, considering what's going on with the impeachment? Yes, it does. This is helpful.
702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Jimmy. Jimmy, you are next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
I just want to make 2 points. One, Brian, you need to quit interrupting people when they're trying to make their point. And number 2,
I've taken 60 calls in an hour and 15 minutes, Jimmy. I've tried to take as many calls as I can. So go ahead.
You're pretty good with the ex-military guy that's just on, and I appreciate that. But you keep bringing up Tucker Carlson.
Yes, I do.
Talking about how he says that it's a hoax with the white supremacy.
Yes.
I think what he was implying is that.
You think what he was implying?
It's so minimal. Like, we got 350 million people in this country, and these white supremacists. I don't know how many there are, but it's very, very, very minimal. And I think that's what he was trying to imply.
Okay, here's my problem with your statement. Hold on, let me respond. Let me respond to what you said. I'm keeping you on the line. You just said what you think he was trying to imply. Now, Tucker Carlson does a national TV show. He has one of the biggest audiences on television. It shouldn't be what you think he was implying. He should actually say what he feels. And I'm only going by his words. And he said, after 22 people died in a Walmart in Texas, El Paso, at the hands of a white supremacist, He said the idea of white supremacy is a hoax. Now, if you want to make excuses for that ignorant statement, you can go right ahead and do that. But it is irresponsible. It is dangerous. And by the way, Jimmy, I don't know if you live in Las Vegas or not, but we had a white supremacist less than 2 months ago that was planning on going into synagogues and going into gay bars and killing innocent people. So don't you give me this crap that it's just a small population until something horrible happens to you or a friend or a member of your family, God forbid. Don't you try to defend Tucker Carlson in those comments, sir, with all due respect.
Well, I think what he's saying is that
there you go again.
It's not that it doesn't exist, but it's
why
so
can't
minimal.
Jimmy? Why can't
Jimmy? His phrasing,
all
Jimmy.
trying to say that Trump's a white supremacist.
I never said
I know what
that.
they're trying to do, but Jimmy, you have to admit that Tucker Carlson is basically saying that these people didn't die, that they're lying about it. If it's a hoax, then nothing happened. It's obviously not a hoax. White supremacists exist. What he should have said is that it's not as big of an issue as people are making it out to be. But he had poor phrasing, and you can't deny that.
Not only that, Jimmy, but I'm not they. Have I ever said on this show, since you've been listening, that Donald Trump is a white supremacist? Have I made that statement?
No, but a lot of people in this country
I'm not.
have.
Well, guess what? I'm not a lot of people.
Crap.
I'm not a lot of people. I've never called Donald Trump a white supremacist or a KKK member, and I disagree with that type of language. I 100% disagree with it. With that being
Can I
said,
ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Why do you hate Mr. Pence? Vice President Pence. I mean, what's this guy done?
Okay,
he seems
sure.
pretty squeaky clean, if you ask me.
Okay, well, first of all, I think anyone
a little too squeaky clean.
Yeah,
Jimmy.
well, first of all, anyone in this country, whether you're a politician or not, if you think that homosexuals should go to conversion therapy to become straight, you're an idiot. That's number one. Number two, well, I know you're laughing, Jimmy, because you know it's ridiculous just like I do. Number two, okay, his wife, okay, works at a school that does not allow homosexuals to go to school there, does not allow homosexuals to work there. You're an idiot if you work in a place like that. Number three, he believes that his wife cannot talk to a man in a room without him present. Okay, he's a whack job. Okay, and the separation between church and state, clearly Mike Pence doesn't understand what that means. You cannot call yourself a great Christian and a person of God and then be an enabler to Donald Trump and defend every word he says. That is why. And I believe we lost him. 702-257-5396 is the number to call.
Good call, Jimmy.
Again, 702-257-5396. I would also add that Mike Pence is an ass kisser. He has zero backbone. And those are the main reasons. 257-5396. Let's go to Chris. Chris, you are next up on the Vegas take. What is going on?
What's up, Chris?
Nothing. Sounds like they got you riled up this morning, and I don't want to add to it.
No, it's okay. You can add to it. My blood pressure's under control, Chris. It's okay.
Oh, okay, good. I spent 20 years in the Air Force. I retired out.
Thank you, sir, for your service to this country, sir.
Well, thank you. So, one thing the only thing I want to say, and I'll just say it like this. If you guys don't think that there's intelligence that showed probably maybe the weapons of mass destruction went across the borders for protection that we can't release to the public, I think there's probably a good chance that some of that stuff happened. But my only thing is I love to listen to your guys' show, but Brian, here's the only thing I'm going to say. Sometimes I feel like you're a little too aggressive, and try to find some ways to give Donald Trump some credit when you can. That's the only thing I would say. Well, because he is our president.
Sure, I'll do that right now.
That's a fair assessment.
That's a lot of bad.
Okay, so I'll do that right now. For you. There are some things that Donald Trump has done that I have given him credit for, by the way. I think Obama got us in the right direction when it came to the economy because he took over a disaster. I think Donald Trump has continued that moving forward. Unemployment numbers are down. The economy is strong, but I don't believe, and this is my personal opinion, Chris, I don't believe because the stock market is up and the economy is doing good that it is an excuse for the president to behave and act the way he acts on a regular basis.
Is that because you're not active in the stock market?
Has nothing to do with that. Right. I'm saying it is not an excuse for his behaviors. That's all, and his disrespect for the presidency, for his oath in office. That is my opinion, and I just despise the man as a human being. I think he's a horrible guy. Listen, I've said that in the past where he's done some good things, and look, I will give him credit for this attack. If it turns out that we have a better relationship with Iran, if it turns out that less troops are going to lose their lives or be put in harm's way, I would love to come on the air and give him credit. And let me also be clear on this, Chris. And this is, I said this when he was elected, and I didn't vote for him. I said, I really hope he succeeds as president. And I still feel that way, because if he succeeds as president of the United States, then we all succeed. I've been very clear on that. Make no mistake about it. I'm not a lefty like some people want to point out. And Chris, I'm not saying you said this, but I can't stand it when people want to label me as a left-wing radical. We had a few callers ago that did that.
I don't think that you are. No.
Well, I appreciate that. And I'm not saying you
but
did.
You know what? You're similar to Donald Trump, and here's one reason why.
That's brutal.
It's going to be a compliment.
It's reality.
It's going to be a compliment. You're similar to Donald Trump in this aspect.
Oh boy.
You both speak your mind.
We do that
exactly the way it is.
We
and
do
that's
that.
Okay. So, like, if you go back 100 years and look at what Congress looked like in the House of Representatives or like the Senate, they'd almost fist fought because they really had deep held beliefs. So, like, does he say it right? Nope. Does he say it in a nice way? Nope. But is it what we need to kind of like fix some of the problems maybe we have? And he can tell
Chris,
them,
we're all not. I appreciate what you're trying to say. Let me respond by saying this. It's one thing to speak your mind on the air, but it's another thing to speak your mind and say things that are completely inappropriate, over the top, and disrespectful. For example, the comments he made about John McCain. Listen, I disagree with John McCain's politics for the most part. I can't stand his daughter, but I have a tremendous amount of respect for John McCain.
That's fair.
And I think there are times when Donald Trump, listen, I don't mind when someone speaks their mind, but do it don't attack women based on looks. Donald Trump went after, Nancy Pelosi's teeth. The reason why I'm bringing this stuff up, because he doesn't do that when it comes to Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin. He treats them with respect, but then he dishonors our own veterans, Chris. That's something I would never do. Say what you want about me. I don't care if we agree or disagree politically. I have the utmost respect for anybody who risks their life for this country.
That's fair. No, that's a fair statement. I think he is. I won't say misspoke. I think he had diarrhea of the mouth a few times, and it was bad, and should have said it. You're right.
Yeah.
Like,
all right. Well, Chris,
you disagree with someone's politics.
Yes.
To attack them because they were captured.
Right.
A little rough.
Chris, I appreciate your phone call, Chris, and thank you for calling in. We appreciate it.
Good call, Chris.
You too. Thank you. Appreciate that. 257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Stuart. Stuart, you are next up on the Vegas Take. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, Stuart?
Hey, two things. First of all, I take issue with your comment about that Trump is continuing on in the financial correction of the country that Obama started. Obama almost destroyed the country financially. He went into the office with a $9 trillion deficit. It's now $19 trillion.
And where was it? And where was it? Where was it when he left office? And where is the deficit now? Where Donald Trump sits at, please, sir?
It's around $20 trillion.
Okay,
so it's at 22.
So
it's gone up $2 trillion in the last year.
It's not at 20. Number one, it's at 22, and it continues. Okay. So by the way, hold on. You made a statement. Now let me respond.
I was just saying, fair enough.
Okay,
I'll stand corrected.
Okay, I appreciate that. What were the unemployment numbers when?
And
I'll
respond to this as well, Stuart.
What were the unemployment numbers when Barack Obama took office, and what were the unemployment numbers when he left office? Are you aware of those numbers?
I read them, but I cannot quote them because I don't want to misquote them.
Okay, well, the point I'm trying to make is that he did not destroy our economy. In fact, George W. Bush destroyed our economy, and Obama got us from hell back to, I'm not going to say heaven, but he turned the economy back in the right direction.
I would argue that Bill Clinton destroyed our economy because Louis Ranieri was involved with the banking deals which increased.
He left with a surplus.
No, they were but the banking where all the loans were given out, all the subprime loans were given out, that was during the Bill Clinton era. I think Barack Obama almost destroyed small businesses. He was great for corporations, and Obamacare was not good for the economy.
Okay, but
his economy went up and down.
To say that Obama totally destroyed the economy is not factually accurate.
He didn't totally destroy the economy. He may have totally destroyed racial relations in the United States.
Well, that's completely different. Stuart's talking about finances, and look, Donald Trump. But look, listen, we're at 22 right now. Okay, if you want to criticize Obama for in part for that, I have no problem with it. But don't say that he destroyed the economy.
I would say the economy was most hurt by investment banking, getting involved in real estate. And giving out loans that couldn't be paid back. And when that happened, that started in the Bill Clinton era.
All right. Stuart, anything else you want to add to that before we move on?
The very last thing, and I may say this incorrectly, was when Nancy Pelosi was last night was berating our president for everything that's going on over in the Middle East right now. The way she and the entire Democratic side continues to just trash on the guy. Okay, right or wrong, you like him, you don't like him, whatever. But doing that when we're being having missiles attacked to us is a wrong thing. I mean, to me, I thought, okay, this is giving aid and comfort to the enemy.
Stuart, I'll say this. Listen, I understand what you're saying, Stuart, and I'm not going to disagree with you. I am not a Nancy Pelosi backer. I am not a Nancy Pelosi defender. We all know that all the Democrats want to do is get Donald Trump out of office. Maybe there are some valid reasons there, and maybe there are some reasons that are not valid. Yes, I agree with you, Stuart. When it comes to war and when it comes to these types of serious situations, I think it's fair to ask questions. I think it's fair to be skeptical. But yes, I think the personal attacks, if you are Nancy Pelosi or pretty much anybody in Congress right now, it needs to stop. Let's get the facts and move on. Stuart, I take your point.
I agree. Thank you.
I take your point, and I get where you're going with that.
Yeah, good call, Stuart.
702-257-5396 is the number to call. Why don't we go to Mike? Mike, you are next up on the Vegas Take. What's up?
What's up, Mike?
Did we lose Mike?
Hello, Mike.
All right, I'll tell you what I think I want to do here, because we do have a lot to get to. By the way, I want to remind everybody, coming up at in about 5 or 6 minutes, we have, I guess you could call him. Well, what's your nickname for Jacob Wohl, JD?
He is commonly referred to as Trump's dirty little trickster.
Yeah, he's gonna be coming up here in just a few minutes. I think we got Mike back on the line. Why don't we take his call real quick? Mike, what's up?
Hey, I just wanted to say, so I've been a conservative pretty much all my life, and I had high hopes for Trump because, I'm a businessman, but I've just been so disillusioned. And I mean, I think he's the worst thing to happen to America since 9/11.
That's a strong statement.
That is a very, very strong statement.
He's hollowed out, the Department of Defense. No general will work with the guy for more than a few months, and it's just. He's just an embarrassment.
Can I ask you a question, Mike?
Sure.
That might be a little extreme. I do think he's an embarrassment. I agree with you there, of course. When somebody calls into the show and they say, I spent some time around Donald Trump, he's a great guy, what would be your response to that?
Well, I mean, people have, it's like, you don't punch your sister while your parents are looking, so you can be some way around one person and then another way, but just, I hope the guy was a leader, because Obama was not a leader, hoping for a businessman to get in there instead of just some, community activist guy.
So I got to say this, Mike, you're one of those people where I say to myself, if Trump does lose in 2020, it could be because of people like you. So let me ask you this: who on the as a Republican, who on the Democratic side would you vote for president if they faced Donald Trump in 2020?
Well, I'm probably, a solid moderate. So, I mean, somebody in the middle, I can't.
Pete Buttigieg.
Hillary's
Buttigieg.
not running, but not her. But
like a Pete Buttigieg type.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's just anybody in the middle. Those whack left progressives, I can't get behind. But
yeah, I hear you.
Anybody in the middle.
Well, Mike, I appreciate your phone call, and listen, I appreciate your perspective. Because I'll say this again, if Donald Trump loses in 2020, it's going to be people like Mike. Simple as that. All right, so the guy we have coming up next, he is a right-wing conspiracy theorist. I don't think he'd mind me calling him that. He's young. I believe he's only 20 years old, if I'm not mistaken.
He's 22 years old.
He's 22. Okay.
He also originated the rumor that Elizabeth Warren had a younger dominatrix
with sex toys.
Yeah,
yes.
with sex toys.
He held a press conference.
He was the start of that.
He has a long laundry list of going after Democrats. His name is Jacob Wohl. He's known as Donald Trump's little dirty trickster, and he's agreed to come on our show. So Jacob Wohl will be joining us next. It's going to be an interesting conversation, and I know he's got a lot of things to say about a lot of the people that are running in the Democratic Party. Also, he made some national news saying that he would enlist if America goes to war against Iran. So we're going to talk to him about that and many, 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 many more subjects. So Jacob will be joining us next right here. You are listening to the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, K-Dawn.
SportsX Radio Nation, what's up? It's Ken Thompson, host of SportsX Radio, reminding you to catch me at my new time, 8 to 10 p.m. for all the local Vegas sports coverage, plus the national scene as well. That's SportsX Radio on the new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.
V is for victory, except on Saturdays when V is for veterans. That's Veterans Talk, The Forgotten Promise. Join us every Saturday from noon to 1.
Veterans Talk every Saturday at noon on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.
Family Promise of Las Vegas, please leave a message.
I've been laid off my job, so we're facing eviction. I have 2 daughters.
I'm calling for emergency shelter for me and my 2.5-year-old son.
I'm a single father with a 14-year-old daughter looking for emergency shelter.
Join with Family Promise of Las Vegas, where our mission is to bring homeless families with children home again, one family at a time. Visit fplv.org and become a friend of our family today.
Attention all authors. Page Publishing is looking for authors. Have you written a book and want to get it published? Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, Apple iTunes, and other outlets. They handle all aspects of the publishing process for you. Printing, cover art, publicity, copyright, and editing. Call 800-501-3689 now for your free author submission kit. That's 800-501-3689 for your free author submission kit. Again, 800-501-3689.
You know, Tempur-Pedic mattresses are the best on the planet. Hi, I'm Dave Mizrahi, owner of Best Mattress, your Tempur-Pedic elite retailer. To be a Tempur-Pedic elite retailer, you have to have the best selection, the highest customer satisfaction, and the most rigorous employee training. And buddy, we got them all. Experience what elite is all about and get 72 months no interest financing, free delivery, and a $300 gift with the purchase of any Tempur-Pedic mattress. Best Mattress. Sleep easy, friends. See store for details.
Presses Nation. President Trump has delivered his first public response to the Iranian attack against 2 U.S. military bases in Iraq.
To the people and leaders of Iran, we want you to have a future, and a great future, one that you deserve, one of prosperity at home and harmony with the nations of the world. The United States is ready to embrace peace with all who seek it.
Though he was non-confrontational, the president said the U.S. will impose new economic sanctions aimed at getting Iran to negotiate a new non-nuclear agreement.
Your campaign of terror, murder, mayhem will not be tolerated any longer. It will not be allowed to go forward.
And he said the U.S. allies in Europe should cooperate with U.S. efforts to restrain Iran. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads in the KDON Traffic Center.
This report sponsored by Circle K. Watch for slowing for the crash I-15 northbound at Sahara, blocking the right lane, traffic heavy from Trop. And also an accident on the Western Beltway northbound near Lake Mead Boulevard. A crash 15 southbound at Sahara on-ramp. And an accident on Summerlin Parkway eastbound at Rampart, also at the on-ramp. And one more on the surface streets. It's a crash at Charleston at the 215. Injuries sustained. Police and fire are with the scene. At Circle K, every cup of coffee is ground fresh, and that means for a mouth-watering split second, Circle K coffee is actually truly the freshest in the world, starting at $1. I'm John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
With PatriotSoftware.com, accounting and payroll, keep your time and money.
Mike Capel here, serial entrepreneur. My second business was open 6 days a week, and I worked from home the 7th day. I maintained that ridiculous schedule for 8 years. One Saturday morning in 1999, I woke up late for work and was greeted by my 6-year-old.
Oh, hi, Dad. Why aren't you at work?
I answered, because it's Saturday. He said,
Oh, thanks for visiting, Dad.
His words pierced my heart. I had become a workaholic. It was decision time. What's more important, family or work? I chose family, and I stopped working 7 days a week. That's why I created Patriot Software, so entrepreneurs can run their payroll in minutes, which gives more time for their families. Go to PatriotSoftware.com. Use promo code RADIO and get 2 months of payroll processing free. That's PatriotSoftware.com.
You're in charge of hiring, and Indeed has solutions, like online skills tests, which let a candidate show that they're the right hire. And we give you this magic music, which will inspire the perfect hire to begin clog dancing. Okay, there's no magic music, but skills tests, that's a for sure.
See why independent research by Silk Road shows Indeed delivers 3 times more hires than any other job site. Post your next job at Indeed.com/hire and try skills tests for free. Terms and conditions apply.
Sean Hannity, weekdays noon to 3 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM. KDON.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us. You know, we always have controversial figures on this show. And that's not going to change because I think it makes for a good interview. And the man we have with us on the line right now is no different. He is known by many, particularly those on the left, as Trump's little dirty trickster. Some call him a right-wing conspiracy theorist, but he certainly has made headlines recently. This man that we have with us on the line right now, Jacob Wohl, I believe he is 22 years old. He has said that he will enlist with the United States if we go to war with Iran. Jacob joins us right now on the line. Jacob, how are you?
Great to be here. I'm doing well.
Thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. A lot of questions to get to with you. So let's start with that. What made you decide to say that you are willing to enlist and risk your life for this country if we do, in fact, go to war with Iran? What made you make that decision?
Well, there's a lot of calls for that. People see that a lot of times pundits will have positions on various foreign policy matters, and they're not prepared to back those positions up in any material way. You look in Congress, and very few congressmen have served. Even fewer of them have kids that serve. And so I decided, look, my position is, and it's been my position for as long as anyone can remember, that we need to change the regime in Iran. To do so, we will likely have to use our military. To what degree remains unclear. And so, of course, I said, if we go to war with Iran, I'm happy to join in and fire the first shots.
Yeah, now, Jacob, which part of the military would you prefer to join? Marines, Army, Navy, Special Forces? Where would you aim to join?
I haven't given that a whole lot of thought because I think we're still quite far away. But I think it would be the Army if I had to pick right this second.
So let me ask you this. Do you think it is fair to call you a right-wing conspiracy theorist? Do you think it is fair for some people to call you Trump's dirty little trickster? What is your response to that?
Well, I don't know about conspiracy theorists. I don't really espouse conspiracy theories. I don't, say, for instance, that 9/11 was an inside job like a lot of people say.
Right.
I don't think the moon landing was faked. I don't believe any of the sort of go down the list big conspiracy theories that you hear spouted out there.
But you do say Elizabeth Warren uses sex
I'm a
toys.
conspiracy theorist.
You do say Elizabeth Warren uses sex toys and is a dominatrix. Would you not call that?
That's not a conspiracy theory. I remind you that we've had a witness come forward. We've had a witness come forward, and we continue to vet the 2020 candidates, and we'll get into that, I'm sure. But we had a very credible person come forward, a U.S. Marine who had a background in sex work, come forward and say that he was with Elizabeth Warren, and she hasn't denied that claim. I will point that out. She has yet to deny that claim. In fact, it seems she has embraced it on several occasions.
All right, but you understand why I asked that question, because if somebody came forward to me that was in the military or not and said, hey, I have reason to believe that Jacob Wohl is a dominatrix.
Now, let me ask this.
It would be, you understand why I'm asking that, right? I mean, because, you have one person that's saying that, it doesn't necessarily mean it's true.
Well,
I'm sure
I don't know, because you would think that by now somebody might have come forward and said that about me if that were the case. The way that things come forward these days, accusations, even if there's even a feather of truth to them, they seem to make their way out. And like I said, it's up to Elizabeth Warren to deny the accusation. She hasn't. She said that, yes, she is a cougar, and basically kind of hinted that she's in an open relationship with her husband.
All right, so even if that is the case, let's just assume that that man, that witness is telling the truth. What does it matter to a voting record? Because you're a supporter of Donald Trump. We know Donald Trump's relationships with women, the multiple wives that he has. We understand that Donald Trump most likely had sex with a porn star in Stormy Daniels months after his wife had a child. I guess my question to you is this: why are you only going after the left? Well, I'm not sure if I've ever heard you say anything negative about Donald Trump. And look at his relationships with women in the past. Would you admit to that?
Well, I think there's a huge difference, first of all, between a person like Donald Trump or even Joe Biden, let's say. If Joe Biden had an extramarital affair, I think there's a huge difference between a man doing this and a woman doing this. And anyone who's ever met a woman could tell you there is a big difference. If Elizabeth Warren's in some kind of wild, open relationship with her husband, I think that the American people have a right to know, and it should give us serious pause about her becoming president.
Okay, that's fair, but don't you think the American people also have a right to know if a week before the elections, Donald Trump made a $120,000 payment to Stormy Daniels? Don't you think the American people deserve to know that? They tried to hide it, Jacob.
Well, I think whether or not he was with Stormy Daniels, and there's a whole lot of doubt there as to whether, what exactly went on there. There's been no evidence brought forward that she was even with him. But if he paid her to keep quiet, as to just keep a story, out of the headlines ahead of an election, I don't think there's any problem with that. Just as if Elizabeth Warren had paid money to this person to keep him quiet, that's well within her rights. That's free and open commerce.
So why did you take this Marine story seriously, despite the fact, okay, he has some experience in sex work? Did he have videotapes? Did he have pictures? Did he have text messages? What evidence did he have that made you believe him?
Well, he had plane tickets and transportation records that matched up exactly with Elizabeth Warren's. You can go back and look at Elizabeth Warren's FEC expenditures and see that she was at the exact same hotels at the exact same time as this young man. And could that be a coincidence? I guess that could be a coincidence, like a plane falling out of the sky in Tehran could be a coincidence. No, it's not a coincidence. Clearly, this man was involved with her.
Do you think it is possible that Elizabeth Warren has not commented on this because she doesn't care and she feels like anybody could just come up with any type of, and I'm going to just use the word conspiracy theory, and she doesn't feel like it's important enough for her to comment on it? Isn't there a chance that could be possible?
Well, she has commented. She said, "Go Cougars" on several occasions.
She did say that.
"I'm a Cougar, go Cougars." And this is something that she seems to be embracing.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I mean, listen.
And I believe that's actually the mascot of her alma mater as well.
For the record, I will say this. Even if she is there are plenty of open poly people out there. I don't look at them differently. Quite frankly, I would rather someone be in an open poly relationship than somebody cheating on their wife. I will be on the record as saying that. I think there is an important distinction there. But would you disagree with that?
I would disagree. I think that it's less classy, personally, to be in some kind of open, bizarre
Jacob, you're a
thing
smart
and just
guy.
keep everything quiet.
Jacob, you're a smart guy. I know you're a smart guy. You mean to tell me that you think it is worse to be in an open, honest, open relationship?
Yeah, it's gross. Nobody wants to know about that. It's best if everyone keeps everything quiet.
Listen,
just keeps it to themselves.
Jacob, again, I'm going to say this again. I know you're not a dumb guy. You think it is better to cheat on your wife and not tell her than to be in an open, honest relationship. See, I don't believe you believe what you're saying when you say that.
If you're a public figure, I think it's incumbent upon you to keep things like extramarital affairs to yourself. You're a role model. You don't want that stuff out there. You shouldn't be teaching kids that crazy. But these relationships are common. We should remember that Elizabeth Warren's a person of academia. And in that realm, the types of relationships that she's been allegedly involved with are quite common. Her husband's still a professor. So it's a different world. I would just prefer that if people become public figures, if they're doing polyamorous stuff, if they're, furries, or if they're doing anything crazy, they keep that to themselves.
Yeah, that was a very interesting episode of Entourage you just referenced there. Do you think that Donald Trump and Melania Trump were in a polyamorous relationship privately? And you would have some decent insight on that, I mean, considering who your father is, and how close he is to the president.
Well, I think the president and his wife are in a great relationship, and they've got a great kid, and everything seems to be on the up and up there.
I have to ask you this again, because I think this is important. I am not a Trump supporter. I think he's a horrible human being. I've also gone after people on the left that I do not support. In fact, I do not support Joe Biden. So my question to you is this. Why is it that you only decide to go after people on the left and attack people on the left, yet I can't remember a time where you've ever criticized a Republican or Donald Trump? Don't you think some people could look at you as just being biased? Why don't you go after both sides?
Well, here's what I would stress. At Project 1599, Jack Berkman and I vet candidates. And this time of year, we vet presidential candidates. But I would also point out that you may remember back to the Justin Fairfax story. Women had come out and alleged that he was involved in basically raping them. Justin Fairfax being the lieutenant governor of Virginia. We came out and we offered a $15,000 cash bounty for any proof. Video, pictures, anything and everything. We had thousands of people write in, and we ultimately concluded at the end of our investigation that Justin Fairfax, a Democrat, of course, had indeed not raped any women. And now our conclusion on that has been totally held up. He's won a bunch of money in settlements now from these women and from CBS News for defaming him. I would also point out that in going after people from both sides of the aisle, we've come after Ted Cruz. We've brought forward a woman who said that she had relations with Ted Cruz in Texas at various campaign stops. She was very credible. Nobody could find any holes in that story. So we have brought out people on both sides. And I'd also point out that we offer to all of the 2020 Democrats, they can come to our headquarters. They can come to 1599. They can take a polygraph. They can take drug tests. And they can answer our questions.
All right.
And the only candidate thus far who has the Berkman-Wohl seal of approval is Bernie. Bernie Sanders has the seal of approval. We don't agree with his positions, but he has a seal of approval.
All right, so I have to bring this up, and I'll give you a chance to respond and to defend yourself to a couple of these things. I think it's fair I point this stuff out. And if you're just joining us or speaking with Jacob Wohl, you mentioned lobbyist Jack Berkman. You've worked with him in an attempt to coerce or talk about a bogus sexual assault smear campaign against Special Counsel Robert Mueller. You've also attempted a fake and similar allegation against Democratic presidential hopeful Pete Buttigieg. It turned out to flop. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Daily Beast obtained audio of yourself and Berkman trying to pressure a potential victim into making a false allegation against Buttigieg. Back in February, you also faked a death threat against yourself and then reported the bogus crime to Minneapolis police. A phone number associated with you was also used to threaten a former GOP campaign worker, even though you have denied your involvement in that. Back in 2016, you were a teenager and you portrayed yourself in media reports and pitches to potential investors in your company as a hedge fund wonder kid, when it turned out with the experience that you claimed you had, you would have been 8 or 9 years old. Do you care to comment on any of that?
Wow, that was quite the cacophony of smears there, and I don't really know where to start. But what I would say is that I've attracted a substantial following. We have taken on scrutiny with our operation that most people can hardly imagine. Jack and I were the subject of FISA warrants. They looked through our emails and everything else. And at the end of the day, all anyone can find is nothing when it comes to anything we've ever done wrong. So people can make crazy accusations. People can publish anything in the Daily Beast.
Then why did California
have tapes and audio?
Then why did California?
They don't have anything to hold up.
Then why did California authorities issue a warrant for your arrest?
That's something I can't comment on. I'm afraid.
Okay. All right. You can't comment on it, but I'm asking you specifically. All right, that's fine. I won't ask you about that. But why can't we comment on this Mueller thing, where you this bogus sexual assault smear campaign?
Here's what people have to understand. When you bring someone out and they have an accusation against a very public figure, these people come under a tremendous amount of media scrutiny. Just to give people an idea. When Mr. Kelly came to us, for example, and had these accusations against Buttigieg, within an hour of him publishing his allegations, his parents, his grandparents, his sister, his brother, everyone in his entire family had received hundreds of calls. And you see that this is something that happens. People can think back and think about Stormy Daniels. She said the accusations were true, then she backed them up, then she came back. This is one of those things that happens because these people come under tremendous pressure from the media, who are really apparatchiks of the Democrat Party, and everyone knows that. And sometimes those people crack. Sometimes they just can't bring themselves to stand up under the pressure. And it's something that everyone should be sensitive about because it's a very real thing.
All right, listen, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like there aren't certain members of the media that are biased. I think just like I would say members of MSNBC or CNN are biased, members of Fox News are biased. I think it goes both ways, but I have to ask you this. Why did you withdraw from the NFA ahead of an investigation, and why did you receive a lifetime ban from the group? I think that's a very fair question to ask.
Well, the NFA is not a government association. That's a group that we had withdrawn from long ago. You're talking about back in I guess 2016.
Yeah, you had some settlements, in and outside of court. So that's what I'm referring to.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look back at that. But as far as the NFA goes, I wasn't a member, and then they wanted to come and perform some kind of audit after I wasn't a member, and we said no. And they said, fine, then you can't be a member. And I said, yeah, that's just what we want. We don't want to be a member. Thank you very much.
Okay.
That's just how that went.
Okay, so two questions. One, you said that Bernie Sanders has your seal of approval for Project 1599. And you vet candidates, what does that vetting process consist of? And are there any candidates in 2020 that you have information on that we'll be finding out about in the next coming months?
Well, you will be finding out information about several of these candidates. Now, Bernie has come to us. He has undergone vetting, and we've looked through his entire background. Remember, all politicians and all public figures are going to face allegations. This is just the way that politics works, and it even transcends politics. People in Hollywood face crazy accusations. They aren't involved in politics themselves. And so Bernie's had the same thing. If you remember back, people were saying that Bernie's wife had stolen $10 million from a university. We looked into that. Turns out a grand jury also looked into that, and they declined to file charges. And so there's all kinds of crazy accusations against Bernie. We cleared those accusations up. The internet's a crazy place.
You're saying Bernie Sanders came to you?
He came to us. He came to 1599. That's right.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so there's some people on our social media that wanted me to ask you this question. So you've done videos and pictures with this fence in the background. I don't know if it's your backyard. And then you did another one of those videos where you said you were outside the country and it appeared that it was the exact same fence. Can you comment on that?
No, so when I'm overseas, I did an investigation of Mr. Biden's entanglements in Ukraine this summer. When I'm overseas, I don't post my exact location because, particularly in third world countries, you worry you might get shaken down by dirty cops, etc. I'll post random locations when I happen to be traveling. This picture in particular was at a restaurant called Saba Niv that's in Odessa, Ukraine, and people verified that. But they just said, look, it's the same fence, and he posted two different restaurants because I don't post my exact location while I'm there. I post it when I get back.
All right. I mean, I guess I'll leave that one alone. But here's where I have an issue with you, Jacob, and I'm going to be honest with you. Okay. You've gone after Michael Avenatti time and time again. As you know, Michael Avenatti comes on this show on a weekly basis. I've spent time around Michael Avenatti. He has some issues in the court system, as you have as well. But here's the key word. He's never been convicted of anything. You could think what you want about him. You could not like his politics. The guy's got over $1 billion in settlements. He's been a pretty successful attorney. He's a pretty smart guy, and we enjoy having him on the show. And we've also given you an opportunity now. So my question to you is this. As you've been accused of a lot of things, and you have, had some issues in and outside the courtroom as well, why do you go after this guy so much?
Well, when we talk about Avenatti, what we have to remember is how this all started. Okay? How it all started was that he was arrested for domestic violence, and the next day he blamed me. He said it was a setup. He said that his girlfriend from Estonia was working at my behest to make false allegations against him. And, of course, that's all false, and that's why judges have upheld against him over and over again.
Okay, but those charges were dropped.
Restraining order from this woman.
Fair enough, but those charges were dropped, and he was not convicted. So I don't want to get into the weeds of him going.
I'm just saying that's
okay.
The genesis of how this begins, is him blaming me for that situation.
Okay. Is that it? Is that the only reason why you go after him?
That's how it starts. And when he came after me in that instance, it was important that I answered back, and obviously I will be able to talk more about that when the matters are concluded as it relates to his legal issues. So I'm not going to get into the particular investigation that we did looking into his background, but maybe I will get into that once his matters have cleared their way through the courts, which
why not?
May happen.
If you don't mind me asking, why not? If you have information on Michael Avenatti that you think you could share with us that would prove some of your opinions, why wouldn't you share with us right now?
Because I don't want to give him any edge in court coming up here. That's why.
So you're saying you have something upcoming in the courtrooms and you're suing Michael Avenatti for defamation? Can you at least tell us that?
No. What I'm saying is that people have said I played a very central role in getting Michael Avenatti indicted by the feds. I'm not going to talk about whether I did or whether I didn't until those things have cleared their way through the courts, and they will at various times this year. There's 3 trials, and they should be wrapped up probably by the end of the year, and maybe we can get into it then.
All right, let me ask you this. You've met Donald Trump before. You've had conversations with him. Can you share with us what those conversations were?
Well, I wouldn't get into my conversations with the president, but certainly I maintain contact to various degrees with the administration, with the Trump family, and I will tell you that I have a lot of confidence in the leadership. I don't agree with everything he does. I certainly don't agree with the way the Iran situation is being handled, but I have confidence that net, the best decisions are going to be made for the country.
Do you think that we will be at war with Iran based on what's happened last week?
No, I doubt it. I doubt that we'll be at war with Iran in the near future. And I say that because really you have two schools of thought. You have the Obama Iran deal school of thought, which is we're going to bribe them not to do bad things. We have the Trump school of thought, which is we're going to deter Iran not to do bad things. I'm of neither school of thought. I believe that we should crush the regime in Tehran, that any reason or no reason at all is a good reason to do so based on their past behavior, based on their killing of Americans, based on their imprisonment of Americans. And so I'm of neither school of thought. I don't agree with really the way the Trump administration is handling this, nor do I agree with the way the Obama administration handled it. But there aren't many people of my school of thought in the administration, so probably what we're going to see is continued deterrence.
All right, Jacob. So let's have a little fun here. You went after Elizabeth Warren with this, this whole sex situation. Here's my question to you. Why don't you investigate Lindsey Graham? Let's find out why he doesn't have any kids, and is he a closet homosexual? Why don't we go into Mike Pence and find out why he's so homophobic and why he's so anti-gay? Why don't you go into an investigation to see if Mike Pence hangs out in gay bars? Why don't we go into some of these Republicans? I think that's fair. If you're going to go into Elizabeth Warren and find out if she's, in this so-called open relationship and using all these sex toys, there are plenty of ultra-right Christian Republicans out there that do some very, very naughty things, Jacob.
You're right. They do some crazy things. The evangelical world gets wild. I mean, and you look at our press conference on Ted Cruz featuring Milo Yiannopoulos, and the things that this woman was laying out, Ted, his wife Heidi, and her doing crazy stuff that I think would shock the conscience of your average Christian right-wing voter in Texas. But certainly we're willing to look into Republicans, and we have nothing against that. We continue to look into various Republicans.
Why do you think Mike Pence is so homophobic, and why do you think so many in the Republican Party are so anti-gay marriage and all that sort of stuff? Why do you think that is?
Well, certainly I think that what Republicans are seeing, and now you're seeing even a resurgence of kind of traditional views of marriage. But what Republicans are seeing is that you had this move to sort of say, okay, we just want marriage. We want marriage equality. We want to be able to put, in the case of a man, put, your husband on your life insurance policy. And Republicans, I think, on the whole, were amenable to this. But now what you see is people identifying as toaster ovens, and Democrats say, you've got to accept that too. If somebody wants to marry a car, you've got to accept that too. And so the level at which the left is saying you have to accept varying degrees of non-normal, and I only say normal in the sense of the statistical term normal, behavior has gone up. And so I think that's why you say that. It's an aversion to the left's trying to normalize crazy things like performing gender transition surgeries on 5-year-olds.
All right.
Go ahead. Getting a request here. The Jim Jordan situation where he was at Ohio State and he was either aware or he was hopefully not involved in all these different sexual assaults that were taking place. What are your thoughts on that? And I'm sure based on this conversation that you totally disagree with it. Are you going to look into him?
I haven't looked into that, and I can't even say that I'm very familiar with the story. It may be something worthy of looking into. We'll have to think about that.
All right. Well, listen.
It's a good idea.
Listen, Jacob. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I do appreciate you coming on. I don't agree with a lot of what you do. I do think you're a conspiracy theorist. I'm entitled to my opinion. That is my opinion of you. But I do appreciate you stating your case and stating your opinions and being respectful about it. I hope you feel the same way about us. In no way, shape, or form am I insulting you. That's just my opinion. With that being said, I do have a request. We would love to have you back on the show. If you have any dirt on Donald Trump or anybody in his administration, we would absolutely love to have you back on to talk about it, including Ted Cruz and any weird sexual relationships that he has. We want to hear the dirt from you. Can you promise us that if you get any of that information, you can share that with us? Because we would love to have you on.
I can promise you even something more than that. And
Okay.
I can promise you that we've got open files on several people in the Trump administration, people that are, I think, malign actors in the administration, but nonetheless, these people are up to some very weird stuff.
All right.
And we are close to concluding those investigations, and I'd be glad to come on and talk about them.
Fair enough. You will have that forum to do so, and we appreciate that. Be in contact with our producer, Jacob, and I do appreciate you coming on and stating the case and being respectful about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jacob.
That is Jacob Wohl joining us on the show. That was an interesting 25 minutes, I will say that. I didn't know how it was going to go, but I thought it went pretty well. Trump's little dirty trickster. Look, here's the thing. If somebody agrees to be a guest on our show, not a caller, a guest, I'm going to give them a chance to be respectful and state their case. And I do believe he did that, even though I disagree. And, some people might think he wasn't completely honest.
He had a lot of PC answers. He's actually very polished, more polished than I thought. He's got a lot of experience having these conversations. So props to you there, Jacob. But you're right. We would give O.J. Simpson a platform. We would give Bill Cosby a platform, and it would be totally unbiased.
Yeah, and listen, if he has some dirt on Ted Cruz and maybe how small Ted's penis is, I'll certainly entertain that. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break.
Very odd, Brian.
And when
thinking about that.
When we come back, George Lopez was visited by the Secret Service. We'll explain why coming up next. You're listening to The Vegas Take.
Kilmeade, Hannity, Levin, 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN, Las Vegas, a Beasley Media Group station.
President Trump says he does not want to order a military response to Iran's missile attacks on 2 U.S. bases inside Iraq.
We suffered no casualties. All of our soldiers are safe, and only minimal damage was sustained at our military bases.
Both the U.S. and Iran seem to be working to diffuse tensions. Back-channel communications may be underway, as we hear from State Department correspondent Kylie Atwood.
In the recent days, as this crisis has been unfolding between the U.S. and Iran, there have been messages that have been going back and forth by the Swiss. This is a diplomatic channel that is open and available to the U.S. and Iran who do not have diplomatic relations themselves. So this is often a channel that's used for consular dialogue.
Trump's imposing new economic sanctions on Iran in response to the base attacks. I'm Mike Moss. The Iranian attacks against the U.S. bases in Iraq could easily have been far more destructive, a point not being lost on the United States or the rest of the world. Correspondent Sam Kiley is in Baghdad.
These were very carefully calibrated missile strikes by the Iranians, deliberately positioned or targeted so that they didn't kill people or indeed damage a great deal of equipment. On top of that, they tipped off the Iraqis, who tipped off the Americans, so that people could get into a safe location.
The federal government is reporting the number of billion-dollar climate and weather-related disasters in the country more than doubled in the last decade, with the cost soaring above $800 billion. There were 119 disasters, including floods, hurricanes, and wildfires, with losses that exceeded $1 billion, more than doubling the previous amount. On Wall Street, the Dow was up 189 points. I'm Mike Moss.
Here. It's time to check the roads in the KDON Traffic Center.
This report sponsored by Lowe's. An accident reported on the Western Beltway northbound near Lake Mead Boulevard remains off to the right. And a crash reported on the 95 northbound at Boulder Highway, also off right, so too a crash on 95 northbound at Charleston. The accident with injury sustained, reported at Casino Center Boulevard at Stewart, is causing delays. Police and fire are with the scene. Another injury crash is active at Eastern Avenue at Warm Springs Road. Pros do it right by shopping at Lowe's to save on the supplies they need most from the brands they trust to get the job done. Do it right for less. Start with Lowe's. I'm John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
When I adopted her, she was a mess. Scabs, itching, licking, missing fur, hot spots, a thin, dull coat. So I take the dog to the vet for the standard run-of-the-mill tests and treatments. No results. I hear your advertisement on the radio. DINOVITE.com. So I get the 5-pound box of Dinovite and the Lico chops within a 4-week total. Instead of a German Setter, I have a German Shepherd. Sheba is 105 lean pounds of shiny, smooth, happy dog for life because she gets fed Dinovite. And the results, they're just incredibly outstanding. And she loves it. When you rescue a dog, you have to do the right thing. You've got to feed them right for life. Do the Dinovite. Dinovite for life.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
859-428-1000.
DINOVITE.com.
This holiday season, get the rest you deserve with Helix Sleep. Helix makes personalized mattresses to fit your unique body type and sleep preferences and give you the best sleep of your life. Go to helixsleep.com and get up to $200 off during their holiday sale.
John Schaefer here for my friends at Numel Medical. You know, I've been telling you about them for a while now, and here's why. Because they are the innovators. You know, anytime you have an original idea, an original concept, you have somebody that comes along and they see the success of that original concept. Then they try and make it their own, and unfortunately, it's usually just a cheap imitation. Well, not with Numel Medical, because they are the ones who got out in front of this. Testosterone replacement, ED treatments, they're the ones who've been leading the way in the nation for sexual health procedures, and they've been providing tens of thousands of men in the Las Vegas area alone for the past 7 years with that help. Numel Medical starts with your first visit, and they are going to be there with you every step of the way. After I went there for my first visit, I felt comfortable and relaxed knowing they could help guide me through any issue I had. Numel.com, that's NUMALE.com, 702-505-4414, that's the number. Don't see a cheap imitation, go to the originators. Numel.com, 702-505-4414.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit beefy, or even with type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Affordable term life insurance is out there. Call Term Provider and speak with Big Lou at 800-481-1458, 800-481-1458, or visit biglou.com. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too.
I'm Jim Snyder.
And I'm Marie Mortera. We want to thank you for making News 3 your #1 choice for news.
Every weeknight at 11, you can count on us to have the big story of the day.
Plus breaking news that matters to you.
Jim Snyder and Marie Mortera. News 3 live at 11.
Las Vegas Divas Day Out is back. The largest women's expo returns January 25th at the Galleria at Sunset. Dozens of vendors with samples and sales of hundreds of all things favorite to women. Want to be a vendor? Go to divasdayout.com for more information. Vendor space is limited.
The new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON. The opinions of the hosts on KDWN are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group. Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, hour number 3, Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us. By the way, we're also streaming live on our YouTube page, The Vegas Take. We're on Facebook, The Vegas Take, Twitter at The Vegas Take, Instagram. We're everywhere, man. So check us out, and ever growing.
And our new website is state of the art. It's fantastic. We've got a team of about 10 writers who are transcribing our segments, summarizing them, and turning them into articles as well. So check that out. www.thevegastake.com.
Absolutely. Awesome website. All right. So we've talked a lot on this show over the course of the last year or so about this Covington incident. If you recall, a bunch of these kids from Covington Catholic were wearing their MAGA hats, and all of a sudden the Hebrew Israelites, which is, in my opinion, a hate group, they're screaming obscenities at them, saying threatening things to them. And then you have this man of Indian descent who I guess he's kind of a radical himself. He's beating the jums. And then this kid, Sandman, is standing right next to him, holds his ground with this stupid smirk on his face. And then they, some of the media outlets were reporting that this kid was acting inappropriately and escalated the situation. It happened for about a day or two. My understanding is he and his family got some death threats, which should never have happened. But then they hire an attorney and they sue for hundreds of millions of dollars, which I thought was utterly ridiculous because I didn't think him or his family deserved $1. That's just my personal opinion. And you don't de-escalate a situation by smirking, by having a smirk on your face. You de-escalate a situation by either walking away, and they didn't do that. And in fact, there are kids in the background in this video that are laughing and joking around and having fun with it. So Jason Stein is our producer. He wants to give us an update on this story and lawsuits that are still taking place. Jason, what can you tell us about this story?
Well, you know, Nick Sandman is his name. He's the student, and him and his friends were on a field trip to the nation's capital for some kind of anti-abortion rally, and they were wearing their MAGA hats, and things got very confusing. He ended up, like you said, being confronted by this man named Nathan Phillips, a Native American man. And the picture that was seen around the world was Nathan Phillips, the Native American man, banging a drum in front of these students. And, of course, Sandman, what's his name, Nick Sandman?
Yep.
Yeah, Nick Sandman with a smirk on his face. Now, that photo, as I said, you know, was seen around the world on every newspaper, on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News even. But the problem is that as far as Sandman is concerned, his lawyers are concerned, that the coverage by some networks, including CNN, rose to the level of slander, that they painted him in a light that wasn't true. And you know what? The courts agreed, because CNN has now settled a $275 million lawsuit. Now, we don't know how much Sandman got. That has not been disclosed. It's not; those things are usually not disclosed. But he sued CNN, sued Washington Post, CNN, and NBC for a total of $800 million.
Ridiculous.
The CNN portion of the lawsuit has been settled. That portion was $275 million. So you know, CNN's you don't pay that kind of money. You don't settle.
Well, we don't know how much money.
There's
there
not
was
something to it, right?
Smoke to this fire. I think they paid between 2.5 and probably $15 million. His mother was getting death threats at her job. They were requesting that they fire. This kid was young. What if he was a smart kid? What if he wanted to be a lawyer? I mean, what's opportunity cost? What's he missing out on if he does? I mean,
that's ridiculous. He can still be a lawyer if he wants to.
No, he was
be.
defamed. He was defamed in the media for this, 100%.
What are the damages now?
It's not like he punched the guy in the face. He smirked, Brian. Come on,
Well,
you can't handle
the
a
media
smirk.
wanted to paint him as a racist.
Exactly.
A racist Trump supporter.
That lasts for a long, long time, especially if he's in an area where Trump isn't liked.
My opinion on what took place that day has not changed, and here's my opinion of it. First of all, I never called this kid a racist. He did an interview saying that he tried to de-escalate the situation. If somebody gets in your face and is a protester, the best way to handle the situation and de-escalate is to be a foot away from his face and smirk. I'm not saying he broke the law, but that is a lie. He was not trying to de-escalate.
He didn't step up in his face. He stepped.
I understand.
So what was
that.
he supposed to do? Run away?
Here's what I would do.
Was he supposed to run away because he was on the black Hebrew Israelites' turf because it was his home turf?
I will gladly give you
It was a public park, Brian.
I will answer your question. What was he supposed to do?
Yes.
In my personal opinion, by the way, there were adults there as well.
Yeah, what if he had smiled instead of smirk?
I'm answering your question. What I would have done to de-escalate that situation as an adult, even with kids there, I would have said, okay, everybody, we're going to move to another landmark so that nothing. Here's the problem with situations like that. You don't know if somebody has a weapon, somebody has a gun or a knife. Something can escalate. Obviously, these Hebrew Israelites are being jerks. They're saying horrible things. To de-escalate a situation is not, in my personal opinion, is not to stand your ground and have a smirk on your face. To me, a de-escalation means walk away. Doesn't mean he had to. Doesn't mean the law said he had to. I'm not saying he broke the law. But don't you tell me that this little pipsqueak doing all these interviews, who's now a millionaire, and I see people on the streets of Las Vegas. I see those kids who lost their mother and their grandmother who died in a car accident. They're probably not going to see $1. I know people that have been hit by drunk drivers that have lost limbs, and they're lucky if they get $5,000. And you're telling me this little pipsqueak, because he and his family had to go through some difficult times for maybe 24 to 48 hours, they deserve millions and millions of dollars. It's crap. It's bull crap.
It wasn't 24 to 48 hours, Brian. This is going to be with him for no, it's not an
Give
please
me a
situation.
break. It's going to be with him
It
forever.
will, absolutely
it's
will be.
over. The guy can,
of course.
He comes from a white privileged family. He can do whatever the hell he wants to do. If he wants to be a lawyer, he can be a lawyer.
I'll tell you this,
and
Brian,
hold on a second. Nobody's going to stop him.
Do you have any idea how hard it is to sue a news network and make
that
money
is
off
not
of it?
the point I'm trying to make.
To me, the fact that they settled for we'll call it $10 million. It wasn't
You're telling me that in 5
it wasn't 50.
You're telling
this
me
is a bad sign for media moving forward.
You're telling me.
I think that now Donald Trump is going to try to sue some media outlets, and I would if I were him based on what's happened in the last couple of years.
By the way,
why is that absurd?
You're telling me that in 3 or 4 years, when this kid graduates college and he wants to be somebody like an attorney or a doctor, you're saying somebody's not going to give him a job because of that? That is absurd. That is ridiculous. That kid, there are no damages.
Not a J-A-A-A-B, a job, Brian, a occupation.
Ridiculous. That is absurd to think that way. And by the way, if somebody does do that for those reasons, they can be sued for it. It's not going to happen, okay? The family suffered for a few days. Hey, guess what? Next time something escalates and next time you're in a situation where you don't feel safe, don't stand your ground and have a smirk on your face.
Just run away.
No, I didn't say.
Because Brian can't handle smirks.
I didn't say.
Because smirks mean war.
Okay, but let me ask you something. What if somebody there had a gun?
If somebody there had a gun or a knife? This guy in the face couple of times? Had he physically attacked him?
What if somebody?
He was standing there with a smirk on his face?
What if somebody there had a gun?
What if he had smiled?
You're not listening.
Would you have a problem if he smiled instead of smirking?
What if somebody there had a gun or a knife? You still think that Mr. Sandman de-escalated the situation by standing there with a smirk on his face? You think that's the appropriate behavior if you're in a volatile situation? If somebody gets within a foot of you and you pose, you think that they're posing a threat to you, you think to de-escalate a situation, you put a stupid smirk on your face and you stand your ground while your friends behind you are laughing? That's just de-escalating a situation?
Exactly. He was standing in his spot.
That's not de-escalation.
He did not walk up to him.
That is not de-escalation.
The situation was brought to him. Again, these guys were in a public park. It wasn't their black Hebrew Israelite grounds. It wasn't their turf.
You defend this kid getting millions of dollars and being set for life because of a couple days of going through some hard times? That is absurd.
I'll tell you what I defend. I think that the media is capable of painting anyone however they want to, and they should be held accountable for it.
And I came on this show the day after.
And I've been painted as a specific thing by the media before in the past. And I'm happy that this happened. And I think it should happen more because the media with Google and with their ability to just put information in your face, they can do whatever they want.
For the record,
and they have not been held accountable. So I'm glad they were finally held accountable for this.
For the record, and by the way, we'll take some phone calls on this at 702-257-5396. Again, if you want to be a part of this program, what do you think of CNN settling out of court? We don't know how much money they gave the Sandman family, but they did settle out of court. What do you think of this? 702-257-5396. For the record, I will say this. The day after this incident happened, and I watched the video, I said, we need more information. I didn't make an assumption, and I didn't say that this kid was a racist because he was wearing a MAGA hat. In fact, I didn't say anybody there was a racist. I needed more information. And when I got that more information, I realized that the Hebrew Israelites were the ones that started this thing. I said that right away.
Okay,
but I also said this. I also said that if you are de-escalating a situation, we're talking de-escalation, the best way to handle that is not to stand your ground and with a smirk on your face, because that is just going to agitate the agitators themselves more. So when this kid does an interview and he says that all I wanted to do was de-escalate the situation, no, you didn't. Your friends were laughing in the background. You had a smirk on your face. You thought it was funny. That is not de-escalation.
So why do you think that CNN settled this lawsuit, Brian?
First of all, we don't know how much they paid them, but it's for one simple reason. They have money. They want the story to go away.
Because they actually did something wrong, and they were recommended to settle it by their attorney, who I'm sure is an extremely expensive, probably $3,000 to $5,000 an hour attorney.
Okay, so let me ask you a question then, and we'll take some
Clearly, somewhere in the reporting of this situation, they either painted this kid as a racist.
Well, Fox News.
They put his family in a compromising situation. They did something wrong, and that's why they're settling, Brian. That needs to be discussed.
So let's see if it goes both ways then. Let me ask you this question, and then we'll take some phone calls at 257-5396. For 5 years, Donald Trump said that Barack Obama was not born in this country. Okay? Completely unfactual, not true. In fact, Fox News reported on that as well. Do you think that Barack Obama deserved to sue Donald Trump and Fox News?
He could probably file a lawsuit for that.
You would be okay with that?
If he can prove that it actually has affected him negatively, then he could definitely do that. That's how the law
works. So
you
would have been okay with that lawsuit? You think there would have been merit to that lawsuit?
I actually would be okay with that, yeah, under the circumstances.
Fine, fair enough. I just don't want to see all these lawsuits. Hold on, let me explain why. When I see these people on the streets of Las Vegas, that maybe you lose a family member to a drunk driver, they lose a limb, they lose an arm, and they get maybe $5,000.
If he was alive and he had any type of net worth, they would get every single dollar of it.
Not true. Not true.
That is absolutely true.
No, not true because
100%.
because I have personal attorneys myself who tell me they've represented people that have been hit by drunk drivers that have lost legs and arms, and they're lucky to get $5,000. So that is 100% not true. But let's see what you guys think out there. Do you take JD's side? Do you take my side on this Sandman situation? The number to call 702-257-5396. Let's start off with Tim. Tim, thanks for calling in. What do you make of this situation?
What's up, Tim?
I don't necessarily agree that this young man should, get $5, $10, $15 million, whatever they settled for. Although, in terms of the bigger picture, I think the mainstream media had it coming to them. This had to happen. MSNBC, CNN, the Washington Post, for the last 4 years, has been race baiting, attacking people, painting them in a different light than they should be, and frankly, just lying. And I think just this sends a message to them that, hey, you got to report the truth, and you can't just make up lies to push your particular ideology.
Okay, well, I'll say to this. Let's just say the Sandman family got $20 million. I would have been okay if that $20 million went to our troops, veterans. I would have been okay if that $20 million went to help the homeless. I am not okay with that kid and his family and their family set for life because they might have been a little inconvenienced and slandered for a couple days. I think that's ridiculous.
And I agree with you on that point.
Okay, so then we both agree. Then we both agree. Listen, if CNN paid out $20 or $30 million, let's help the homeless. Let's help some people that really need that money.
It was a precedent move. Because, again, this guy's the caller is totally correct, and I've been saying this.
So you're okay with that kid being set for life for being inconvenienced for a few days?
He's the one that happens to be enriched for it. Now, does he have the best case? Does he have the best case? No, but it needed to happen at some point, and it's going to keep happening in the future. The media needs to be held accountable, and I'm happy that they were.
Okay, so let's hold Tucker Carlson accountable for saying the idea of white supremacy is a hoax when we had a white supremacist who killed 22 people in Texas, El Paso. If we're going to hold them accountable, let's hold everybody accountable.
I will say this, something like this happening does open up that door for one of those families to sue Tucker Carlson for saying that.
Let's sue Laura Ingraham for going after David Hogg.
And what it does is it forces the media to be more accurate in their reporting, which is a good thing long term for the country.
There's reporting and then there's opinions. Those are two. You have to distinguish the two.
Okay, they're reporting their opinions, whatever they say, whatever they project
in my opinion,
to a massive audience,
and maybe his attorney
via their giant platforms.
Go ahead and let his attorney sue me for $200 million. That kid is a whiner. That kid lied in that interview when he said he was trying to de-escalate the situation. Those were words that his parents and his attorney told him to say. You don't de-escalate a situation with a smirk on your face and not stepping away or getting out of a situation. You don't de-escalate a situation when your friends are in the background in the video laughing.
Brian,
laughing.
The smirk has nothing to do with anything.
2-5, yes, it does. That's not de-escalation.
Okay, what if he smiled?
It means he didn't take what was happening seriously.
Okay, what if he smiled?
It means he wasn't de-escalating.
So if
he's a liar.
If he smiled, it would be worse or the same as the smirk. Or would
you
that
know
be
what?
okay
You
with
know what would have been okay with me is if he took a couple steps back and, and an adult there who did nothing said, "Guys, let's move to another area. We got to take more calls."
Taking a step back from a 60-year-old or a 50-year-old man beating,
don't care how old he is,
beating a drum, part of a Black Hebrew Israelite radical group in a public park.
Beating a drum is not against the law.
Right in your face, walking up to you right in your face?
He wasn't an inch away from his face. He was a few feet away, and Sandman decided to smirk and hold his ground. Let's take some more phone calls at 257-5396. Let's get to Ryan. Ryan, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's up?
What's up, Ryan?
Hey, I agree with JD for the most part. I mean, and let's go to the other side of it. Why is this 50, 60-year-old man getting up in a kid's face? Why doesn't the news blast him for it? Getting into a kid's face.
Let's start.
You know what I mean?
I'll answer your question. Let's start with the Hebrew Israelites, who I've called out for this. They are a bunch of scumbags. I think it's a hate organization. Make no mistake about it. They started this. There's nothing wrong with wearing a MAGA hat. There's nothing wrong with standing there. Those kids weren't doing anything wrong. The only point that there's 2 points I'm trying to make, Ryan. Number one, I don't think you deserve millions. I don't think this family deserves millions of dollars. Donate it all to charity. Number two, I don't believe that a de-escalation is somebody with a smirk on his face while his friends are about 10 feet behind him laughing. That's not de-escalation to me, and that kid lied because his family as an attorney told him to do that. That's the only point I'm trying to make. I'm not defending the Hebrew Israelites. I'm not defending this man who was beating a drum. I think he's a moron and he needs to get a life. With that being said, that kid didn't de-escalate anything. Ryan?
I mean, if I was out in a protest or doing whatever they were doing, and some guy came up to me, would I back down? Would I really back off, or would I stand there because
depends on the situation.
Coming up to me. That doesn't mean I'm escalating it. It means I'm just standing there.
But it doesn't mean you're de-escalating. But it doesn't.
I'm going to let this idiot do his thing in my face.
Okay, but that
I might laugh at him because I think it's moronic.
Okay, that's
But
fine.
does that mean I'm escalating?
No, but it doesn't mean you're de-escalating either. Get the point I'm trying to make?
But he's not.
It's not de-escalating.
So de-escalating means putting yourself out of it and basically turning yourself into a coward and removing yourself from the situation.
De-escalating means putting yourself in a position where you're more safe. And if those kids felt threatened, which, by the way, I don't buy for a second because many of them were laughing.
Wait.
What?
If they felt threatened, why would they feel threatened?
They claim they did. That's why. Have you not read the quotes?
Okay.
These kids have said that they felt threatened. If they felt threatened, then watch the video. They're laughing.
So
many of them are laughing.
This is all about this kid was standing there. He was approached by a black Hebrew Israelite radical. He is smirking while this person, because he's probably like, why is this guy, because I would think it was kind of funny, why is this 50-year-old man sitting down beating a drum in my face? What's he doing? Is it possible that he just thought it was funny? Is that okay? Is that okay to think a situation like that is funny?
I'm going to tell you something. If I'm in a situation where I feel threatened and I could be put in harm's way, the last thing I'm going to do is smile and smirk. And the last thing I'm going to do...
You're going to run away?
Did I say run? Let me tell you something. I'd rather run away than get hurt or possibly knifed or killed. You don't know if somebody has weapons in that situation. I'll tell you one thing I wouldn't do. I wouldn't hold my ground and smile. Okay, 257-5396. Let's get back to the calls. Let's go to Lauren. Lauren, you are next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
What's up, Lauren?
I'm sorry. I think you're out of line. As far as de-escalating the situation, the whole thing started with the Israelites,
which I've said about 30 times.
I understand, but I mean, some guy walks up to you, and you're being cussed out by the Israelite guys, and then this guy's coming up and he's beating his drum in your face, and who is an activist?
Yes.
You know, I mean, how old is this kid? Was he 16 at the time when it happened?
He's old enough to know. And by the way, there were adults there.
Is he 16?
He was a minor. He was definitely a minor.
And 16
is. He was a minor. Now,
now,
I have 8 kids. All of them have different personalities.
You have
some
8 kids?
Some are going to get right in your face, and some are going to stand back.
Yeah.
And in today's society with Facebook and everything else, it has a tremendous effect on your ability to earn money in the future.
Can I ask you a question?
Especially for kids.
Let me ask you a question, Lauren.
Sure.
You have 8 kids, correct?
Yes.
So okay. So let me ask you a question. If one of your kids, all of your kids, are in a situation that could be a volatile situation where you have a group of people that are screaming out obscenities and threats, which is what the Hebrew Israelites, my understanding, were doing. Would you tell your kids if somebody is beating a drum and people are yelling out obscenities maybe 1 foot or 2 feet away from your kids, would you tell your kids to do one of two things? Would you tell them to stand their ground and smile while their friends laugh in the background? Or would you tell your kids to maybe back up a few steps and find another place to hang out? What would you tell your kids? I think it's a simple question.
Well, I know you think everything is simple. Well, everything is cut and dry with you.
Can you please answer that question?
That's a very good point.
No. Personally, I don't think that not knowing exactly how the situation, other than what we heard on the news.
I just gave you the situation, and I asked you a very simple question.
Okay. I don't think that I felt like the kid was blindsided. That's the way that I felt.
I didn't ask you if the kid was blindsided. I asked you a very specific question when it comes to your kids.
Depending on the situation.
And I just gave you the situation.
What I feel I could handle, depending on my age.
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about your kids. If you could please answer the question.
I am answering the question. I have kids from 40 to 12.
Okay, so what would you tell a 16-year-old, which was his age, one of your kids, would you tell them to stand their ground and smirk while their friends in the background are laughing if it is that type of situation? Or would you tell them?
I honestly don't think it was a smirk. I think he was nervous.
Oh, my God. All right. Bye-bye. See you later. All right. No. Bye-bye. See you later, Lauren.
And he could have been nervous. Good
call,
Lauren.
His friends in the background were laughing. Stop it. I noticed how you didn't answer the question. What a coward. 702.
Coward?
Yeah, he didn't answer.
That's unnecessary,
Brian.
Come on.
He didn't
Just
answer the question.
Doesn't make him a coward.
It's okay to disagree. He wouldn't answer my specific question. And he said, oh, well, you think it's all cut and dry. I gave him a very simple question, and he refused to answer it. You know why, JD? Because any decent parent would say, if you're in a volatile situation, in a dangerous situation, and you feel like you're threatened, don't stand your ground and smirk. The best thing to do is to take a couple steps back, or in some cases, call the police. 257-5396. Do we have enough time to take one more call, and then we'll take the rest on the other side of the break? Let's go to Janissa. Janissa, thank you for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, Janissa?
Hi, Brian. How are you?
Good. Unfortunately, I only got about a minute, so go ahead.
That's okay. I think that the picture doesn't tell the whole story. I think that picture was taken in a specific moment in time. And what if after the picture was taken, they did get scared. I mean, you have to think that it is a minor, and I have kids of my own. I have told them that de-escalating a situation doesn't involve, confronting someone, but my kids don't listen to me.
Right.
They don't know, you know what I mean?
They
don't know how they're going to react. You don't know how they're going to react.
I understand, Janissa, and you're right. Some kids don't listen. I take your point there. And you're also right, but the only point I'm trying to make here, I think it's a very simple position.
Brian thinks that he should have been polished and used to,
I don't
a situation like this. And he should have responded.
Absolutely not what I said.
As if he's been around this before, despite the fact that he's a minor with a developing mind and he's impressionable and he's a Trump supporter and he's being called racist.
Didn't bring up Trump.
And he's in a stressful situation. None of that matters because he's smirked and he can't do that.
Okay, well, you said about 10 things that are factually inaccurate and you're laughing because you know you did. Listen, here's what we're going to do. We have a lot of people on hold. We have one phone line open at 257-5396. I want to give everybody an opportunity to respond on this and your voice on it. 257-5396 is the number to call. Brady, Mark, Richard, Ron, Kevin, John, you're all coming up next. We will take your calls on the other side of the break. Just be patient. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to The Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit beefy, or even with type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Affordable term life insurance is out there. Call Term Provider and speak with Big Lou at 800-481-1458. 800-481-1458 or visit biglou.com. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too.
If your retirement plan is on set it and forget it, it's time to take control. Tune in for Financial Safari with America's Wealth Coach and best-selling author, Coach Pete D'Arruda. For more than 25 years, Coach Pete has been helping people just like you plan for retirement. Join Coach Pete every week as he discusses topics like why your retirement plan should also be an income plan and how to make sure you're getting the most out of your 401k.
Financial Safari with Coach Pete, Saturday morning at 10 a.m. and Sunday afternoon at 2 on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.
Addresses nation. A more conciliatory President Trump says he doesn't want to use military might to compel Iran to end its nuclear and terror campaigns.
The civilized world must send a clear and unified message to the Iranian regime. Your campaign of terror, murder, mayhem will not be tolerated any longer. It will not be allowed to go forward.
The president is imposing new economic sanctions to squeeze Iran.
The president said these sanctions are going to be powerful, but that's pretty much it. He didn't elaborate any further. But the other thing the president said he's going to do is implore NATO to get more involved in the Middle East, which of course is notable because there are questions about how exactly the president wants to go about that.
White House correspondent Caitlin Collins. President credited an early warning system that worked very well for the fact that no Americans or Iraqis were killed. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads in the KDAWN Traffic Center.
This report sponsored by Lowe's. A crash reported Warm Springs, eastbound at Eastern Avenue. Injury sustained. Expect slowing and lane restrictions. And remember, heavy volume around the Las Vegas Convention Center for the Consumer Electronics Show. You can expect a lot of traffic on Paradise, Desert Inn, The Strip, and Sahara. This is going on all day. Pros do it right by shopping at Lowe's to save on the supplies they need most from the brands they trust to get the job done. Do it right for less. Start with Lowe's. I'm John Michaels from the KDAWN Traffic Center.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit beefy, or even with type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Affordable term life insurance is out there. Call Term Provider and speak with Big Lou at 800-481-1458. 800-481-1458 or visit biglou.com. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too.
Hi, Doug Basham here. Join me Saturday afternoons from 2 to 4, and I'll tell you what your conservative, corporate-controlled, right-wing propaganda hate media isn't. You're welcome. That's Saturday afternoons, 2 to 4. Be there.
This is Harry Jacobs from Credit Restoration of Nevada, inviting you to join me for The Credit Show, Saturday mornings between 9 and 10, here on the new 101.5 FM and 720 AM, KDAWN.
You're in charge of hiring. And Indeed has solutions, like online skills tests, which let a candidate show that they're the right hire. Indeed will also give you this sticky frog, which will suddenly leap and stick to the face of the perfect hire. Okay, there's no sticky frog. But skills tests, that's a for sure.
See why independent research by Silk Road shows Indeed delivers 3 times more hires than any other job site. Post your next job at Indeed.com/hire and try skills tests for free. Terms and conditions apply.
101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON, the talk of Las Vegas. Sean Hannity, weekdays noon to 3 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. By the way, if you missed our interview with right-wing conspiracy theorist Jacob Wohl, that was an interesting one. We will be posting that up on our Twitter page, on our SoundCloud page, so certainly check that out. Also, our website, thevegastake.com.
I got to tell you, I feel a little more confident that Elizabeth Warren was, actively involved in those things.
Well, we're
after
talking
that conversation.
We'll continue to discuss that. But anyway, this kid Sandman, what we're talking about is the lawsuit that took place with these Covington kids, and CNN has settled. We don't know how much money they paid this kid. I completely disagree with it, and I think if they are going to accept this money, which I'm sure they will, and I'm sure the attorney will make a lot of money too, which is a joke, let's donate it to charity. Let's donate it to the homeless. Let's donate it to our military. Let's donate it to people that are in need, not a white privileged family for a couple days that was inconvenienced. I don't think that kid de-escalated. I also think the media did make some mistakes, but that happens every single day, and I think it sets a bad precedence. But the phone lines are full, so let's take them at 257-5396. And let's start off with Kevin. Kevin, you are first up. What's going on, my man?
What's up, Kevin?
Yeah, I can't believe that that CNN settled with this brat. This kid was just totally wrong. And but the thing of it is, it sets the precedent. Fox News will be next up because it's Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, the terrible things that they do to people, turning these kids into victims.
Yeah.
JD, I would even be careful yourself because some of the things that you said about Trayvon, or you guys have said about Trayvon Martin, you guys all should watch your backs now because there's a target on you now. These people are going to come after you guys now. Because
wait, hold on. What have I said? Hold on, Kevin.
Trayvon Martin?
What have I said about Trayvon Martin that you think is inappropriate?
No, well, you paint him as a thug anyway. But we're not going to get into that. You paint Trayvon as a thug now, and that he wasn't a victim. And so
I never said he wasn't the victim. I never made that statement.
No, neither did I.
I think he did. I think you guys said that he wasn't such an innocent kid. He wasn't the victim.
Okay,
here.
Kevin, you could think what you want. It's a horrible situation, and I don't want to get in the weeds here. I feel horrible for his family. That kid, did not deserve to die. With that being said, George Zimmerman, in my personal opinion, did not commit murder. That's my opinion.
Those questions will come up time and time again. But I'm just going back to this kid. This school. If you look them up, they have a racist history of even posting of blackface while during basketball
at a basketball game.
These kids are no innocent little kids.
I didn't say they were innocent, Kevin. If you've been listening to the show, I am defending some of what you are saying. I appreciate the phone call. Yeah, I hear you, Kevin. I understand.
This kid was totally wrong.
Listen, I agree, Kevin, that this settlement is ridiculous. Obviously, a lot of people are going to disagree with you. But to say we would have a target on our back because I don't believe George Zimmerman committed murder is also ridiculous. I think we have to be fair here. It is one thing to have an opinion. If you have an opinion, it doesn't mean that you should have a target on your back. I think that is also a very dangerous precedence that you said.
He actually pointed me out and said that I said Trayvon Martin was a thug. Never said that once in my life.
No, but I do think Trayvon Martin was a troublemaker. I think Trayvon Martin, I don't want to go into the weeds here with Trayvon Martin.
It appears that he had a bit of a troubled past.
Yes, he did. 257-5396. Let's go to Brady. Brady, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
What's up, Brady?
Yeah, good morning, gentlemen. If Nicholas Sandman was my son, I would be a very proud father because if that Indian that came up banging the drum and he was protesting Columbus and he was Indigenous Day, for them Indian people that go protest Columbus Day, and that guy walked up to my son like that, I would have told my son, You grab that guy's drumstick and you wrap him upside the head if he ever gets that close.
So this shows.
And Brady, he would have not won a lawsuit under those circumstances.
Okay.
So your son would have got nothing out of it.
All right. So let's. All right. So let's try to. Let me just respond.
That could have been a massive, massive loss. multi-million-dollar decision.
Let me respond
Brady,
to
by
what.
making
Let
that
me
happen.
let me respond to what Brady just says. First of all, it's not them Indians; it's those Indians. So why don't you speak third grade grammar? Number one. Number two.
Yeah, good one, Brian.
Number two. You are telling your child to commit physical assault. Thank God you don't have kids, because there'd be more dumb people in the world like you.
Brian, and I tell my kid to defend himself.
To commit assault. So if
you hit him upside the head and you knock him out of your
so you're telling me. So it is your position that you think Sandman should have committed assault on this man. Is that what you're saying?
I said he should have taken the drumstick and wrapped him upside the head.
Which is assault, you dumbass. Get Brady off the show, you idiot.
Brady,
what a dummy.
That is definitely like the basic definition of assault.
What a dumbass you are, Brady.
And it could be argued to be with a deadly weapon or some type of object.
I feel sorry for your kids that their father is such a dummy. What a moron you are. And it's not them Indian, it's those Indians, you idiot.
Brady, great call.
257-5396. Let's go to Mark. Mark, you are next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
What's up, Mark?
Mark, are you there? 257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to David. David, you are next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, David.
Yeah, I just want to comment on the settlement. I think the family was deserving of it based on the evidence, and apparently CNN felt the same way, or they never would have paid it.
We don't know what they paid, though. And you would agree, David, not to quote Bill O'Reilly, but when Bill O'Reilly has been talked about, did you ever commit sexual assault? Did you, his response has been, no, I did not. And in the courtrooms, just because you pay off a settlement doesn't necessarily mean that you admit that you did anything wrong. Donald Trump would say that as well, by the way.
And so would Cristiano Ronaldo. So would a lot of different athletes and celebrities that have been involved in situations like this.
What we do know is that CNN wanted this story to go away. That's what we know for sure.
Well, sure they did, because it made them look bad, and it goes for all the news outlets that jumped the gun on the whole story and made the kid look bad. And I don't know if you saw the stories after that, but his family was threatened with their life.
I understand.
And
I understand that.
threatened to set bombs at the school.
I understand that. And David, make no mistake about it. Nobody should ever be threatened with their life unless they are a murderer or a felon. But let me ask you this, David.
And I think the biggest thing was his mother, who actually had a pretty good job. She was basically a lot of people were emailing her boss and saying that she should get fired. And if that's the case, say she's making $150,000 a year and she's been there for 15 years. And she gets fired. I mean, that's 1.2 to 1.5 to 3 million right there, assuming that she has a 20-year shelf life for a career.
David, let me ask you this: are you a Donald Trump supporter? Or are you a Republican? And I'll explain why I'm asking that question in a second. But are you a Trump supporter?
I am.
Okay, so let me ask you that. Fair enough. Let me ask you this question, David. For 5 years, Donald Trump went on all the media, all the new Fox News, CNN, MSNBC. He made the rounds for 5 years, and he said Barack Obama was not born in this country. Okay, he referred to him as Mr. Hussein. For 5 years, he defamed Barack Obama. Do you think Barack Obama has a case for suing Donald Trump?
Well, anybody has a case if they want to take it to the court.
That's not what. But do you think that Donald Trump defamed Barack Obama and hurt him by doing that for 5 years?
No.
So it's okay. So in your opinion, it's okay for somebody to defame somebody else if it fits your political agenda. Is that what you're saying?
No, because it's two different subjects.
No, it's not. No, it's absolutely not. It's the exact same thing. Donald Trump went after Barack Obama with things that were not facts. CNN went after the Sandman family for things that were not facts. It's the exact same thing. No, goodbye. No, goodbye.
A good call, David.
I gave you an opportunity to be fair, and if you gave me an answer like JD gave me, well, he would have had the right to sue. And
he would have had the right. I'm not sure if he would have won. He'd have to prove damages. In this case, Sam
could have been.
Sam and his family clearly can. It would have been more difficult for Barack Obama too.
But you understand why I asked him that question.
I get it.
If you want to take the side of both and say, listen, Trump shouldn't have done that. He could have been sued. He could have lost. CNN shouldn't have done that. That's why. Then I don't have. Fine. At least you're consistent on your opinions. But I asked this guy who calls in, who clearly is a right-wing hack. I asked him, what about Donald Trump when he went after Obama for 5 years, saying something that was completely inaccurate? And his response is, no, he didn't do anything wrong. Sorry, but you are completely 100% not credible. 257-5396. Let's go to John. John, you are next up on the Vegas Take. What is going on?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Hey,
Good.
John.
Okay, well, here's the thing. CNN is the adult in that relationship. They screwed up. They didn't do their due diligence. And obviously they settled. Why would they settle? Because they looked at it and go, we probably can't win it. So they settled. You guys are saying something about, I don't care what color the kid is, white, black, or green. I don't care what color his family is. They won.
Okay, can I ask you this, though? What about the adults that were there, the supervisors? Do you have anything to say to them?
Sure. Here's the thing. I've seen adults just freeze. They just don't know what to do. They just don't.
Yes,
you
I
think
agree.
They do? They don't.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
They had no idea. Do we do this? Does that escalate? Let's go.
Can I ask you a question, John? Do you have any kids?
Nope.
Okay, neither do I, John. So we have that. We have that in common, by the way. Let's just say you did, hypothetically, and your kids are going to a school and they're on a field trip, right? And all of a sudden, there's a group of people, in this case, the Hebrew Israelites, which are a bunch of scumbags. Make no mistake about it. They're shouting things at your kid. They're yelling obscenities, and they're a threat to your child. Let's just say there are adult supervisors there. Would you want those adult supervisors to keep those kids in that environment? In fact, in this case with Sandman, having kids laughing and joking around and stand your ground? Or would you want that adult supervisor to say, you know what, let's get out of this situation. Let's go to a different area away from these people?
I would imagine that you'd want them, I would agree. I'd want the adult supervisors to do something.
There you go. I think the adults need to be held accountable.
But once it's reported by CNN, they're supposed to be better than that.
I understand. Listen, I'm not.
You know what? And they deserve to lose the money.
Okay, I
You were
understand.
talking about Trump.
Okay, I understand, and I'm glad we agree on that. But my point is that kid did not de-escalate. That's number one. And number
He
two.
doesn't know how. He's 17 years old, man. I've seen kids do. I've seen kids 17 years old.
Okay, well, guess what?
No, 16-year-old kids have to be perfect.
I'm not perfect,
They
but
have to
when
be
I was 16 years old and somebody got in my face and people were yelling obscenities at me, I wouldn't have stood there and smiled.
You would have ran away.
Well, if you were nervous and you were scared, you would.
When I'm nervous and scared, I disagree.
You know what was in that kid's head? I don't, and neither do you.
You know what? And speaking of that, one of guys, he's got a show at night. It's called Sports X Radio. His name is Ken Thompson. He wanted to call in, but he decided to send me a text instead. And he told me that I used to smirk every time my stepmother went to hit me. It was a nervous habit, and she used to get pissed.
That's why Ken Thompson might have a stutter, like Joe Biden used to have. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Richard. Richard, you are next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Richard?
Hey, yeah, I think the kids should absolutely go forward with these lawsuits, and it's not about him getting rich. It's about the news media that lied about him doing damage to him. And yeah, absolutely, the kid got death threats. His family got death threats, and it was because CNN went ahead with a story that they either didn't check out at all, or a story that they knew was false.
Okay.
And they went after him because he was a white young male.
And the biggest problem here, well, not only that, but it had, I don't think the white, I think it's the fact that he was wearing a Make America Great Again hat. I think that's why they went after him to push that anti-Trump narrative. And obviously there was some wrongdoing. There was some punitive damages that clearly they were able to get out of it. And the fact that they settled is a big deal.
All right, Richard, so let's get on the other side of this. Let's see if we could be intellectually honest on this. I believe the reason...
Absolutely.
Let's see what Donald Trump went after Barack Obama for 5 years, saying that he wasn't born in this country. I think there's a possibility that Donald Trump did that because Barack Obama is black. Fox News went after Barack Obama for 5 years with that same narrative. There are hosts on Fox News, including Laura Ingraham and Tucker Carlson, that went with the belief that Donald Trump said that Obama was not born in this country. They call him Mr. Hussein. So with that being said, would you feel the same way if Barack Obama decided to sue Fox News and Donald Trump?
If they knowingly defamed him, yeah, I would absolutely say you should go forward with that case.
Yep. Then I respect your opinion a lot more than I respect some of these other clowns that have called in, Richard. So I appreciate...
Hey, good call, Richard.
I appreciate your phone call. Thank you very much. Listen, guys, we need to be fair. If this is okay to sue CNN, do you know how many ridiculous things some of these Fox News people have said over the course of 8 years, 16 years, whatever? They've called the Clintons murderers, so on and so forth. You need to be held accountable, and I think it's a
well, and by the same logic, how many lawsuits does Donald Trump have against the left-wing media? I mean, 2,000.
It
They
depends.
painted him as a fascist, a racist.
Donald Trump has been sued plenty of times himself.
I agree, but you name it. He's got a giant lawsuit brewing here, especially if he gets impeached.
Okay, let me be clear on this video once more. Watch the video if you don't believe me. These kids in the background are laughing. That is not de-escalation. Sandman has a smirk on his face. That is not the definition of de-escalation. And if you don't believe me, ask a police officer. If put in that situation, would a police officer say, this is how you de-escalate? Keep the kids there, keep them laughing, and keep Sandman laughing. That is the opposite of de-escalation. Let's go to Marvin. Marvin, you are next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on? What's on your mind, man?
Hey, what's up, Marvin?
Hey, Brian.
What's
up?
Hey,
brother. I totally agree with you. I just watched that video on YouTube, and it seems like, Sandman's group are more disorganized compared to the other group.
Mm-hmm.
And personally, bro, if my kids is Sandman, I'm going to tell my kids, you know what? Step back. It's not worth the fight.
Exactly.
It's not worth the fight.
Right.
If you want to de-escalate a threat, you step back.
Step back. Exactly. Marvin, why do you think Marvin, you sound like a logical human being. Why is it, as a parent yourself, you've heard so many other parents call into this show and are not willing to admit that? I find it amazing.
Because in my opinion, what Sandman did was stand your ground doctrine. That's what he did.
Exactly.
He doesn't want he doesn't want to de-escalate the situation. If he does want to de-escalate the situation, he has all the space behind him and his friends that he can take one or two step back.
Exactly. Marvin, I wish, Marvin, listen, I wish there were more responsible parents out there like you. This is not we're not even talking about the lawsuit, Marvin. By the way, I do appreciate the phone call. Good call, Marvin. We're not even talking about the lawsuit. I'm just talking about de-escalation. I'm just calling this kid a liar. His family's a liar. His attorney's a liar. He's a liar. And the reason being is there is no way that you can convince me or a law enforcement official or a good parent that the best way to de-escalate a situation is to stand your ground and smile while your friends are laughing in the background.
True or false, Brian? When someone agrees with you, they are always logical.
You think it is logical to de-escalate?
No, I'm asking you that question.
Now I'm asking you a question.
Turning around. Answer my question first.
Do I think that everybody that agrees with me might be logical? No, of course not.
When someone agrees with you,
I think that was a logical opinion.
They are logical. Why?
I think that was a logical opinion.
Because he agrees with you? Because you share the opinion?
Well, let me ask you this question then. You think if put in a volatile situation, just in any circumstance, where you feel threatened, you think the best way to handle that situation is to not only stand your ground, but to smile? It is a very simple question. And I know you could answer this honestly.
As a 34-year-old male who's been through a lot more than 17-year-old, 16-year-old Nicholas Sandman, probably not. But in his situation, as a minor, I'm guessing
there were adults there. There were adults.
I don't care.
I do. There were adults there. They could have stepped in. Yes, it does.
They're at a public park, and a group of radicals
you already answered the question.
Are basically attacking them for being Donald Trump supporters.
They were verbally attacking them. They were not physically attacking them. Number one. And number two, you answered the question.
They were verbally assaulting them.
You answered the question.
At this point, when I have as much to lose as I do right now, would I want to escalate a situation like that? Probably not.
I don't have anything to lose,
again,
and I would still take a couple steps back.
I would assess the situation before I did it.
All right. Well,
I'm also a pretty big guy.
Simply put, there were adults there. There were supervisors there, and they did nothing because they are morons. 257.
But the issue is the smirk. The smirk doesn't matter, Brian.
Yes, it does.
Smile.
It shows a frame of mind that he was not trying to de-escalate the situation. And by the way, his friends in the background are laughing. So don't tell me they were trying to de-escalate. That is a lie.
They're probably like, what is going on? Why is this person beating a drum in front of us? Why do we deserve this attention? This is very odd.
I hear Trump.
I'm sure they've never seen that before.
I hear the same
and again,
drum.
They're still kids. They're 16-year-old kids. They're in high school, Brian.
I hear the same drum being beat all the time because they were wearing MAGA hats. Trump supporters call in and say, give this kid $500 million. But I guarantee you, if they were beating a different drum and they were wearing Hillary Clinton hats, I guarantee you all of these calls would be different. 257-5396. Let's go to John. John, you're up next on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
What's up, John?
Thank you for the phone call, John. We appreciate that. 257.
Best call of the night.
Let's go to Ron. Ron, you're next up. What's going on?
What's up, Ron?
Hey, how you doing, JB? How you doing, Brian?
What's up, Ron?
Hey, listen, I think both of you made some good points, but what it really comes down to is slandered. Okay, so if it doesn't matter who's wrong or right, really. I mean, if you get a bad, rap, I think the settlement's too much. $15 million. That's a lot. Maybe 3 or 5 million. But I mean, if you're done and nobody will hire you, and being that we're 50-50%, I would say divided, and and people will go, oh my God, it's that kid. Don't give him a job.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Let's say, what if he wants a career in tech? What if he wants to work in San Francisco or
California?
California?
Absolutely not.
Who's going to touch this kid? What if he wants to work in Hollywood? What if he wants to be a producer like Mr. X? What if his mom is? I mean, Brian, you're not thinking about the opportunity cost here, and that's very real.
Ridiculous. In fact,
how is that ridiculous?
In fact, I think there's a better chance he gets a job.
Brian, listen. I would totally defend you, Brian, if they were slandering you. And you being in radio,
I wouldn't sue for $500 million, and I've had death threats myself. I'm not suing for $500 million. You know where I want?
I agree with you.
You aim high and you hope to get something.
It's absurd.
You don't need that much to live on.
In fact, I'm going to take. I understand, Ron, but I'm taking the opposite opinion, and I think he actually is now famous, and he has a better chance of succeeding in society because of this incident, not a worse chance.
You're taking the school of thought of any attention is good attention. In this situation, I don't believe that it is.
I disagree with you. In fact, if he applied for a job here at this radio station, I can tell you right now, he'd have a good chance of getting a job here if he works hard in school.
They're conservative, bro.
Right.
They're conservative.
No,
right?
I'm saying me personally.
It would be different if he was a comedian where all the attention matters. That's not the case. This is a 16-year-old kid. You don't know what he's trying to accomplish or what he's trying to do, Brian. You know what? I have a problem. Say the settlement was $20 million. I have a problem with that. But if it was 3.5 to 6 or 7, I'm cool with that because I think that's about where it needs to be.
So we only have,
based on what happened.
We only have a couple more minutes left. I want to try to rapid fire, try to get as many calls as I can. Let's go to Eric J. Eric J., what's on your mind? What do you think about this?
Hey, what's up, Eric?
Hey, how are you guys?
Good.
Doing good.
Just listening to your program, I think we forget about the rights of certain people. You said it's a public park. The Black Hebrew Israelites have their right to be there and protest as long as with these kids. And we're talking about de-escalation. No one has the right to push someone out of a public park. And I think that's
nobody did that. No, nobody did that. Nobody was.
Had he turned around and left, he would have done that.
Eric, I am not.
De-escalate, and that means stepping back or giving way to somebody to infringe upon their rights.
Eric,
I'll
leave
it at that.
Okay, but Eric, hang on for a second. I never said that any those kids were breaking the law. Did I? This isn't about the law. Here's what it comes down to. It comes down to logic. And when you're in a situation where you don't feel comfortable, or when you're in a situation where you feel you might be being threatened, it's not about, well, I can stand my ground. I'm allowed to be here. The legalities say I'm allowed to be here. No, I don't. You know what? That doesn't go through my mind. You know what goes through my mind, Eric? How do I get myself in a better situation so nothing bad happens to me or my friends?
Well, yeah, I understand, and everyone has the right to appreciate it, but I just think a little bit differently. I just think upon, my rights as being there is just as good
all
as
right.
yours.
Well, I understand what you're saying, Eric, and I appreciate the phone call, but next time you're in a situation where you feel your life is threatened, I suggest you get the hell out of there and don't think about your First Amendment rights. 257-5396. Let's go to another Eric who's waiting patiently on the line. Eric, what's going on?
What's up, Eric?
Hey, how you guys doing today?
Good.
Doing well.
Hey, this is actually one of the first times that I totally agree with Shapiro. And one of the first times that you are talking like a veteran law enforcement officer. I'm actually a combat veteran, was in the military active duty before 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
I also have 20 years in law enforcement.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you. All parties in this situation were wrong.
Agree.
They all made poor decisions.
Agree.
And you know what? If it was my kid, he probably would have gotten smacked in the back of the head and told, you screwed up.
Yeah, you're right, Eric.
Take the higher ground, be the bigger person.
That may be the case, but the way that the media spun this clearly, clearly it hurt Salmon and his family, and that's why he's being compensated for it.
And you know what? I could ask for compensation all day long. 20 years of federal law enforcement, the things I've seen, the things I did,
I'm sure.
The injuries I received. I could be a 90% disability veteran.
Sure.
I've never even gone to the VA and filed.
Yeah, and Eric,
You know?
I want people like you to be taken care of, not some kid and his family because for a few days they were inconvenienced and got some threats. But you know what, Eric?
I've been threatened. I've been threatened by gang members.
Exactly.
I've been
You're
threatened
not
by OMG members, all that stuff.
Right. And the thing is, Eric, is this is why I'm talking about de-escalation, because guess what? This kid is the one that brought it up in the interview. He said he was doing his best to try to de-escalate. He's full of crap. But listen, man, I really appreciate your phone call, and thank you for your service to this country. And unfortunately, we can't take any more calls. I feel like we've taken about 1,000 of them today. We appreciate it. But, man, there are so many issues that we didn't even get to today that we absolutely have to get to tomorrow. And I promise you we will do that. See, this is what we do on this show. You might agree, you might disagree. Your voice will always be heard on this show unless you say something dumb like Brady. He does that on a daily basis. But listen, there's a lot
Brady, you need to work on your parenting skills.
Unless you're a moron.
Questionable parenting skills.
Yeah, unless you're a moron who thinks the appropriate way to handle a situation is to physically assault somebody and you can't speak third grade grammar, then I will call you out on that. Heck, we even had a 25-minute conversation today. You couldn't find a more right-wing conspiracist than Jacob Wohl, but we kept him on for 25 minutes. It's not about agreeing or disagreeing. It's about saying things that are factual, not saying things that are ignorant. We're always probably going to disagree with one another. Sometimes we're going to agree, and that's fine too. But that's the beauty of this show. We do it from a Vegas perspective. I remind all of you that are listening, and I mean all of you, check us out on our YouTube page and subscribe. It is The Vegas Take. Check out our website, which is thevegastake.com. You also want to go on our Twitter page, @TheVegasTake. Promise you, you're going to want to hear this interview with Jacob Wohl, and we will post that later today on our SoundCloud page. It'll be up there in about an hour or so, and of course, on our Twitter page as well. So a lot of platforms on social media to watch us, to follow us, whether you agree or disagree with some of our opinions. I think we got like half and half today. Half the people agreeing with JD, hey, that's the way I like it,
You know
folks.
what? I would say it was more 65-35 me.
Well, you know what? You also say you talk 65-35 more than me too, and I would disagree with that
Well,
also.
that's obviously not
we
true.
we disagree on everything, but it's fine. That's the beauty of this show and doing this show together, and I always enjoy it. All right, folks, we are going to take a 21-hour break. See you bright and early tomorrow morning. Sean Hannity coming up next.
Here is some great news. If you missed the deadline to sign up for health insurance, or if you sign up for a plan that you're just not happy